Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Uzumaki, Naruto and Shikamaru have been wearing masks their entire lives. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. A small 12-year-old boy was running. No, he was sprinting through a forest in the middle of the night. He had no idea what was going on. Well, no, actually that was a lie. He knew exactly what was going on. He wasn't stupid. That bastard of a teacher, Mizuki, had tricked him into stealing the scroll of sealing just so he could give to the gay-ass pedophile, Orochimaru. Somewhere in Odo, a pale snake freak sneezed. Geez, Naruto thought. How much longer will I have to wear this damn mask? It's bad enough that all the civilians in this damned village hates me, but I have to act like an idiot on top of that. Plus this frickin' jumpsuit. I mean, what self-respecting shinobi wears kill me orange? This will definitely have to change once I become a ninja, if that happens. Naruto then thought back to his meeting with the Sandaime a couple hours ago. Flashback. Boy, Gigi, I have something to tell you. Naruto exclaimed, shoe shining into the room in a great blast of fire. Naruto, how many times do I have to tell you not to do that? The paperwork might get burned, damn it. I hate paperwork. The Sandaime yelled very loudly. The hidden Anbu flinched at their leader's loud voice. Listen, you old geezer. I failed the last exam just like you wanted. Naruto then adopted his real face, a face of utter calm that betrayed no emotion. Mizuki wants me to seal the scroll of sealing. I think that somehow, Orochimaru is involved. Every major attack in Konoha history in the last 25 years always leads back to him. Anyway, what do you want me to do? The Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, looked ill. He was actually starting to look his age. Naruto, he said, take the scroll and see what he wants. You have my permission to show your true strength and your bloodline against him under the condition that you kill him, of course. The traitor will die regardless of your actions. The Sandaime had asked Naruto to hide his true potential from all of his peers, except for one. In fact, that exception was also a lot like Naruto as well. Naruto's A-rank mission for the past 5 years was to act as the dope and scope out true potential for the village. Alright Gigi, just give me the scroll and I will leave. Hiruzen tossed him the scroll. Naruto was just about to walk out when Sarutobi said, Naruto, you have my permission to learn a jutsu out of the scroll. It doesn't matter which one, okay? If Naruto was surprised, he didn't show it. Instead, he nodded his understanding. The Anbu in the room were flabbergasted. The Sandaime Hokage, the god of shinobi, was letting a not yet genin learn a jutsu out of the forbidden scroll. Contrary to popular belief, the ninja section of Konoha respected Naruto immensely for being the jailer of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Most of the Anbu in the room were part of Naruto's guard when he was a kid and had to be protected against the attacks of the retarded villagers. It was only some resentful chunins like Mizuki who hated him, besides the civilian section. But still. Even if he was the surrogate grandson of the Hokage and the son of another, to have a child learn out of the scroll was unheard of. Naruto paused as he was about to exit the room. Anko ni-chan, Kakashi Nai-chan. Come with me in the forest. I think that there is more to Mizuki than meets the eye. He is not a standard chunin. Naruto left in the same way he came, in a whirl of flames. This left the two Anbu in question, Hibi and Inu, surprised and confused. Not only had Naruto correctly deduced their Anbu identities, they weren't allowed to tell him who they were. He had sensed that they were in the room and he had called them Ni-chan and Nai-chan. It was heartwarming. The two Anbu looked at each other and nodded, only to disappear in a swirl of leaves. Flashback high. Naruto grinned as he felt two familiar presences near him. He didn't acknowledge them because he knew Mizuki was watching. The shinobi in Konoha were all informed of what Naruto was doing and why. They all liked him and trusted the Sandaime that Naruto would do a good job. Right now, all the potential senseis, except Kakashi and other jonins, were watching the events unfolding through the Sandaime's crystal ball. Naruto came to a clearing and stopped. He sensed Mizuki in a treetop about 100 feet away from him. Recalling what the Sandaime said, he decided that he would learn a jutsu from the scroll. Opening the scroll, he found none to be interesting. Age Bunshin, he learned that one when he was 5 and learned that he had too much chakra for a regular useless Bunshin. Bakuretsu Bunshin, too easy for Naruto. He had already made his own variation out of it, less explosive though. The Bunshin's body would explode in 1,000 sakura petals, each as sharp as a razor. He had used this variation when a Kumo-nin had tried to kidnap Hanabi Hyuga 4 years ago when he was 8. Naruto found some more that looked interesting, but were really not. Hell, he had learned half of them years ago, mainly from Kakashi and Asuma. The two jonins were his surrogate brothers. Well, technically, Kakashi was his cousin. Tsukumo Haddock was the cousin of Namikaze Minato, but since both of them were orphans, the boy's uncle, Jiraiya, had raised them. They were as close as brothers, and the bond had been passed down to their children as well. Naruto thought as he looked at the scroll again. Shiki Fujin. That's what dad used to seal furball in me, eh? Kid, how many times do I have to tell you that I resent being called furball? Did I forget to mention that Naruto knew about the Kyuubi since he was 4? No, well, oops. Ah, go suck it, Nai-chan. Was Naruto's snarky response. Well, you know, I did love to suck my lady dry back in the day, but I guess I'll have to make do with you now. Kyuubi shot back. Naruto just gave a mental chuckle at his brother's response. Yeah, I know, Hitomi Ni-chan was the love of your life, and then you were sealed inside me. Geez, it wasn't my fault that Madara Ichigo had decided to use Kohoha as fodder for his twisted plan to dominate the world. As soon as Kaiu had met Naruto after Naruto meditated to reach his inner self, Kaiu had told Naruto who he was and why he was sealed inside him. Hitomi happened to be Kaiu's mate. Naruto in turn had relayed all the information to the Sandaime. The Sandaime had secretly been ordering Jiraiya to look out for any information regarding the traitorous man. Back to the forest. Well, I gotta make Mizuki team believe that I'm learning a forbidden jutsu. I'll do Kage Bunshin, I guess. For the next hour or so it looked like Naruto was working very hard at mastering a jutsu, while in fact he was having an intense thumb war with himself. From the treetops Mizuki was watching the demon brat carefully. Yes, that's right Naruto, learn from the scroll. It's not like you will be alive later to use it anyway. Soon, my lord, the scroll of sealing will be in your hands, and I will be rewarded beyond belief. Insert manic laughter here. Mizuki had been planning this little escapade 2 weeks before the Genin exams. Naruto had joined the academy when he was 7. Mizuki had periodically been placing genjutsus on his tests to make him intentionally fail. Of course Naruto, being the damn genius that he is, told Sandaime Jiji all about what the bastard had been doing. In addition to the genjutsu, Mizuki had given Naruto rusty old kunes to throw and always sparred with Naruto himself to humiliate him further. The only reason why Naruto put up with the crap was because Hiruzen had given Naruto the S-rank mission of revealing all of Mizuki's dirty little secrets. They will be divulged later on. Just as Mizuki was about to tell Naruto what a good job he had done in getting the scroll of sealing, another presence quickly made itself present. Naruto. Iruka-sensei yelled. What the heck are you doing with that scroll? For a second Naruto had been confused as to why Iruka was here when all the shinobis in the village were informed of what Naruto was doing. Then Naruto realized that all the shinobis to him just meant some chunins, all the jonins, and the anbu. Iruka must not have heard Naruto's mission and came to confront him himself. Naruto quickly put on his stupid mask. Oh Iruka-sensei, you caught me. Ano-sa. Ano-sa. Mizuki-sensei told me that if I learned a jutsu from the scroll, I could graduate. Honto-ka. Is that true? Said Naruto feigning ignorance. Iruka, for his part, was flabbergasted. Mizuki had come to him earlier saying that Naruto had stolen the scroll of sealing. Iruka knew that Naruto was depressed that he hadn't passed, but to seal a forbidden scroll. That was preposterous. Iruka was frightened that perhaps the demon sealed inside of him was influencing Naruto into doing this. It also raised the question as to how the dead last had managed to steal something that had various barriers around it. Perhaps Naruto was more skilled than he let on, no shit, or that he had done his ridiculous Warrick no Jutsu on the Sandaime. He shuddered at the latter of the two. Mizuki. Iruka was very confused at the moment. Before he could say anything, Mizuki decided to make his presence apparent. Naruto, excellent job in taking the scroll. Now, please give me it so I can give it back to Sandaime-sama. We had this entire thing planned out for you so you can graduate. Having you learn from the scroll was the best way of developing your non-existent skills. In the Hokage's office, the Sandaime snorted. Mizuki had no idea what was going to become of him, Naruto would assure that. You know what Mizuki-sensei, I don't really feel like it. This scroll is pretty cool, and giving it to a stranger is against my morals. Everyone who heard that comment sweat dropped. Haha, don't make me laugh. What would a demon like you know about morals? Oi Naruto, do you know why everyone calls you a demon? Perhaps I should be the one to tell you. Wait Mizuki, no. It's against the law. A frantic Iruka cried. He had been assessing the situation in relative silence, thinking on what to do next. Iruka was in turmoil. Mizuki was one of his oldest friends since the academy who was making Naruto a pawn in a scheme that only God, or Orochimaru, knew. Iruka, you idiot, you can't stop me. Naruto, the reason why everyone hates you is because you are Kyuubi no Kitsune. The Yondaime sealed him in you, and the Sandaime made a law that said that no one can talk about it. Naruto put on a horrified expression and began to roll on the forest ground in what looked like uncontrollable fury, but it was actually badly restrained mirth that was coming out. Nu. How is that possible? Is that why the village hates me? Is that why I have massive stomach pains when I eat too much ramen? Then, am I really a monster? Naruto's expression changed to a stormy visage. That's what you expected me to say, isn't it? Well, newsflash asshole, I've known about Kayunai-chan since I was 4 and I gotta say, as long as I keep feeding him ramen, he's a great brother. Everyone in the Hokage's office burst into uncontrollable laughter. Asuma was clutching the sides of his father's desk while wiping the tears from his eyes. "God, I love Naruto's mask sometimes," he said. The Hokage himself concealed his mirth carefully and replied, "Yes, well, let's see how this plays out." Mizuki looked like a gaping fish for a moment. Iruka was stunned. Anko and Kakashi quickly pulled out cameras and snapped pictures of their shocked expressions. Mentally, Iruka's sweat dropped. Only Naruto could bond with the king of Makai, hell, through Ramen. "So you admit to being the demon. That's great, now you will be executed and I will get the scroll of sealing. Then, I will be made the hero of Konoha for killing the very thing that nearly destroyed it." Naruto was getting sick and tired of Mizuki's pathetic attempts to rile him up. This could be noted because of the visible tick on the boy's face. But, he wanted to know if Mizuki really was working for Orochimaru. "Pardon me, sensei," he snarled the word with contempt. "I am not adequate with sealing jutsus, that's a lie, but if a kunai is sealed into a scroll, then does that really mean that the scroll itself is the kunai? No, the kunai and the scroll are completely different and it would be best if you and the pathetic civilians in this village learn that. However, if the scroll is opened, the kunai will be unleashed and wreak havoc on its victim. Am I correct?" Neither Mizuki nor Iruka could find any flaws with his logic. Iruka was startled by the many revelations that Naruto had made. He was certainly not the hyperactive blonde that he was thought to be. This Naruto was calculating and shrewd, like a true shinobi. Mizuki was growing impatient with the brat. He took out a syringe and a vial of purple-looking liquid from a flap in his Chunin vest. He took the syringe and inserted it into his wrist. Naruto felt a dark presence entering Mizuki's system. Cautiously, he took a whiff of the air and became alarmed. The stuff smelled like anko, like snakes. But it was stronger, much stronger. It reeked of death, despair, anguish, and surprisingly little boys. "Shit," Naruto cursed. Mizuki was growing stronger by that stuff, and things just got a lot more complicated for the blonde. Kakashi and Anko were worried for Naruto. They knew that they had to step in sooner or later, but what Naruto had said earlier stopped them. Flashback no Jutsu Hajime. "Boy, Naruto, why did you want to see us?" Kakashi asked with his usual eye smile. Anko stood beside Kakashi as well, waiting for an answer. "Ni-chan, Nai-chan," Naruto began very serious, "I asked both of you to come with me because I trust you with my life. Kakanai, you are my brother and Anko ni, I'm pretty soon you will become my sister legally." Kakashi and Anko looked at each other, bewildered, then Kakashi blushed furiously as Anko turned as violet as her hair. Ma, Naruto. You know Anko and I don't have that kind of relationship. Yet. Kakashi said. "Oh really, then why did I hear you moaning and groaning her name in the bathroom over and over again? For like half an hour, all I was listening to was Anko, oh Anko, why are you doing this to me?" And so on. "Be quieter the next time you do something like that," Naruto retorted. Kakashi wanted to bury himself under all of his porn books never to be dug out again. "Naruto, I'll pay you back tenfold one day." Anko didn't know whether to be appalled or flattered that the silver-haired wolf was a hem, thinking happy thoughts about her. "Oh now that I think about it," she mused, "he is quite the looker if only I could see what was beneath that mask of his, or maybe even lower," she added perversely. Kakashi cleared his throat. "Anyway, you must have a good reason for us to come if you think that you can't take Mizuki by himself." Naruto replied, "No, Mizuki most likely will not be that big of a problem. I will kill him. I need you two here for one of two reasons, either he will have some type of backup or he has the curse mark like you did Anko ni. If he does, then his body, once no longer living, will be the perfect reference to Orochimaru's work. I checked Mizuki's records and he left the village 3 months ago to a village called Itagakure for a potential alliance between us and them. Mizuki was rather rudely turned away from them, but I believe that Orochimaru has something to do with it. When he came back to the village, his fiancée, Tsubaki, reported that he was being rough and violent. He was also yelling something in his sleep like power, I need more power. Haruka reported that he nearly killed an academy student while a simple taijutsu spar. In fact, Mizuki was openly showing his hatred towards me in class and placing all of my tests under high-level genjutsus that were somewhat difficult to break. Not to mention that he smells strongly of snakes. His nose dies just standing around him. His aura is becoming dark and malevolent. Something or someone has to be influencing him. If it had been anyone else but those two who had heard what Naruto had said, they would have been floored. However, Kakashi and Anko knew of their Naruchan's intelligence. Kakashi nodded and said, "So what do you want us to do?" "I want you to trust me. Just watch my back please." "This is your little brother asking." Kakashi I smiled and Anko ruffled his hair. "Why of course Naruchan, who are we to deny our little darling Itado, little brother, anything?" Anko said. Naruto grinned his foxy little grin and exclaimed, "Thanks guys, you're the best." Kakashi watched as he ran off into the distance, clutching the forbidden scroll. "Nah, Oji-san, Odo-san, what would you say if you saw Naruto now?" "So Kakashi, what was it that Naru-chan said about you jacking off to me?" Anko asked sultrily. The look in her eye was that of a predator to her prey. So Kakashi did the only thing that any man would have done in his place. He ran far away. Flashback high. "Anko," Kakashi whispered to her from their hidden location in the treetops, adjacent to where Mizuki had been hiding, "let's trust him and see how this plays out." Anko nodded her affirmation. The pair watched the trio with tense eyes, ready to move at the slightest sign of Naruto faltering. Meanwhile, Mizuki was developing a very tiger-like exterior. The telltale signs of the cursed seal appeared on his body as well. His body was smoking slightly, and Iruka was cringing with the vile chakra that surrounded him. Iruka turned to look at Naruto, and to his surprise, Naruto held a deceptively passive attitude. His face was void of any emotion while he was taking in the scene in front of him. Naruto was in deep concentration. Without a doubt, Mizuki's transformation was because of Orochimaru's experimentation on that vial he had injected. That potion seems to give the user enhanced abilities for a designated period of time. However, it takes a severe toll on the body, and Mizuki will die within minutes after the effects are over. Well Oro team, I guess I can thank you for one thing." Naruto's musings were cut short by a hysterical laugh. "Oh, I can just feel the power oozing off of me. Now I can finally beat you to the ground, demon brat. And you too, Iruka. You protected that demon so many times that it makes me sick. You're just a weak, pathetic demon lover." Iruka was boiling with fury. "Shut the fuck up. Look at yourself. How dare you call Naruto a demon when you yourself have turned into a thing? Who are you, Mizuki? What are you?" "Me, I am your killer." Mizuki raised his Fuma shuriken to pierce. Knew he was trapped, he had no way of countering that shuriken when it came. "So this is how I will die, eh? At least Naruto can get away to inform others." Iruka resigned himself to death. All of a sudden, a great burst of wind knocked the shuriken out of Mizuki's hand. He looked around wildly until he spotted the creator of the wind. There, 50 feet in front of him, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto stood there with his back against the very same tree that Anko and Kakashi were hidden in. "So, how did you like my Futon Rinkiden?" Naruto asked as if he was discussing the weather outside. Mizuki's lips turned up in an insane smile. "Ah hello demon, how would you like to see your sensei die today?" Not once did he consider that Naruto had just done a B-ranked elemental jutsu. And this was the supposed dead last of the year. "Iruka-sensei? Dying? Don't be preposterous, the only one dying will be you today." Iruka was amazed that the boy thought he could actually kill Mizuki. In addition to that, he was surprised to hear the preposterous come out of his mouth. It seemed like the only vocabulary that the boy had was ramen and Hokage. "Nah, Mizuki team, tell me, who do you work for?" At this, Mizuki stiffened, and Naruto, Kakashi, and Anko saw this. What do you mean B-boy?" Naruto thought. "Mizuki is stuttering and is sounding an awful lot like someone else I know. I wonder who." Meanwhile in the Hyuga estates, a blue-haired pale-eyed girl sneezed while in front of her Naruto shrine. "I mean that the stuff that you injected is not from Konoha. This leads me to believe that you have accomplices from another village helping you in some plan. Or perhaps you are planning to steal the forbidden scroll, leave the village, and give it to your master." Mizuki gulped nervously. He hadn't expected the brat to be so observant in his analysis. "So tell me again, who are you working for?" This time the question was laced with demonic killer intent. Mizuki nearly pissed in his pants while Iruka was trembling on the ground. Where had the adorable hyperactive blonde gone and who exactly had replaced him? Inwardly, Anko smirked. "Fuck with him and you are screwed." The people in the Hokage's office were all proud of how far Naruto had come, even when he was faced with adversity. Mizuki put on a face of false bravado. "Ha ha, why the hell would I tell a demon like you anything? Maybe because this demon is going to beat the shit out of you if you don't." A gentle wind flew through the area and at Naruto's whim, captured Iruka and guided him back to safety. As Iruka stared at Naruto in awe, Naruto asked, "It's Orochimaru, right? That curse seal is his." At this moment, no words were needed to confirm Naruto's suspicions. Mizuki's face told all the answers. Kakashi made subtle hand signs, and within seconds, the Hokage was next to him, observing keenly. Anko dropped down to pick Iruka up. Once both were situated comfortably on the tree tops, Iruka was thoroughly confused. The Hokage and two Anbu were just watching his wayward student without having the slightest inclination to help. No, Hokage-sama Hiruzen looked at Iruka with petulant eyes. "Why is it that you are not helping Naruto fight Mizuki? God knows that he needs it." The Hokage chuckled slightly. "Iruka, you should have more faith in Naruto. He is not who he seems to be. I'll tell you a small secret. I was the one who ordered Naruto to fail the graduation test 3 times. Naruto had been voicing suspicions of Mizuki, and when Naruto was asked to take the scroll of sealing by the idiot, well, it was a perfect ploy to get Mizuki admit working for our village's greatest traitor. Naruto is very strong, stronger than most Chunin, and he will only continue to grow. So let's watch my delightful grandson beat the living daylights out of the Shitsunin in front of us, shall we? Naruto is that strong? Iruka whispered incredulously. It was hard for anyone to believe except those who knew him that the prank-loving, hyperactive, idiotic boy was strong. Hi, Iruka, he is, now shut up and watch. The Sandaime replied. Mizuki eyed the demon brat warily. He had controlled the wind to such an extent that was not possible. Just who was he? The best option that Mizuki had was to kill the boy as soon as possible so that he could not mess with his plans anymore. Are you going to do something, or do I have to make the first move? Growled Naruto impatiently. TCH, this is too troublesome for me to deal with. Those who were watching through the Sandaime's crystal ball sweat dropped. Since when did he start acting like a Nara? Nara Shikaku was also watching the confrontation, smirked. It was about high time that somebody understood how troublesome the situation was. The Sandaime inwardly sighed. Naruto, as strong as you are, why can't you be more patent? Mizuki was furious. Alright you brat. Let's go, show me your demon abilities. Naruto sighed. Listen you idiot, how many times do I have to tell you that I am not the fucking Kyuubi? I don't care, you are the Kyuubi, no matter what anyone says. Alright, well it's your death. Naruto put on a very official tone. Taiji Mizuki, you are hereby under arrest for breaking the Sandaime's decree as well as betraying the village and trying to join a sworn enemy. The punishment that I have deemed prudent is death, Mizuki scoffed. Oh, and what can the dead last, someone who is not even a genin do to me, a Chunin? You filthy demon brat, you could never touch me. Naruto turned around to the place where the Sandaime was positioned. The Sandaime was confused as to what Naruto was doing. Naruto simply threw his hands up in exasperation and kicked the base of the tree a couple times, causing the 4 occupants of the tree top to hang on using chakra. Mizuki Naruto began in a very serious voice, rank means nothing. In fact, I know of one other genin who could kill you right now. While tending to some deer, a boy sneezed. Has it ever occurred to you that every action that I took was nothing but a farce, a mask? Do you honestly think that I would willingly wear this orange abomination and that I would eat nothing but ramen, has it? I am a lot stronger than you, traitor. And after I graduate, I will flaunt it openly. Back in the treetops, Iruka knew he had a lot of thinking to do on his blonde-haired student. Even the Hokage had said that Naruto was stronger than he looked. For years he had adhered to Hada Kakashi's ideology of looking underneath the underneath. It seems that he had never truly looked at Naruto before. If he had, he would have seen the fake smiles among other things. He would have seen the fake crush that he had on a certain pink-haired banshee, and he would have seen the look of hurt on Naruto's face when Iruka had said that he had failed. I really did mess up, didn't I? Iruka thought ruefully. From now on, he would be at Naruto's side for as long as he lived, this he vowed. Prove it then, demon, Mizuki's voice broke Iruka out of his stupor. Prove that you can kill me. But wait, you can't. You are just talk, you are nothing, you are the scum that resides beneath my feet and I intend to put you in your rightful place, demon. You just made the biggest mistake of your life, Mizuki. This was the thought of all of the onlookers. HN, is that so? Naruto said in an uncanny imitation of Uchiha Sasuke, well then, let me show you just what I can do. With a single hand motion, hundreds of Naruto clones appeared. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Mizuki was slightly scared at the thought of the Kage Bunshins. Slightly was the key word. Hey, brat. So this is what you learned from the scroll, is it? One of the Naruto clones picked his ear and looked at his finger. No. The boss never really learned anything from the scroll. Hokage Jiji said that it would be best if we went along with your plan and pretend to steal it. He learned Kage Bunshin from Kakanai a long time ago. So you didn't learn any techniques from the scroll at all. Pity. At least you could have died with some sense of accomplishment. The scroll wasn't really helpful as I know most of the techniques. Naruto replied. Iruka was floored. Naruto knew jutsus from the Forbidden Scroll. Now he knew that he had to pay more attention to Naruto. Kid, come on already. I want to kill this bastard so bad. Omen, Kaiu Nai. I really have talked too much, haven't I? Well, let the ass kicking begin. Yenaru, kick his pasty white butt from here to America. America, what's that? Never mind, anyway go on and start. Naruto gave a mental nod to the fox and cracked his knuckles. Let's get wild. Immediately, all of the Naruto clones began a barrage of kicks and punches that knocked the wind out of Mizuki. Uzumaki, Naruto Renden. Mizuki was thrust upward briefly before he came crashing down to the forest floor in a sickening crunch. The onlookers winced at Mizuki's plight. Never fuck with Naruto when he is mad, period. Mizuki groaned on the floor. How? How was it possible that this demon could injure him this much? It wasn't. He was a Chunin and Naruto was a nobody. Then Mizuki felt it, the power in his veins flowed as the liquid that he injected burned, leaving him powerful and Naruto helpless. Or so he thought. Kakashi and Anko were growing anxious. As they were about to leave, a hand stopped them. "Do you honestly think that Naruto would forgive you if you entered his fight?" the Sandame inquired. Kakashi was about to say something, but Anko cut in. "Sandame-sama, Naruto is our little brother, more so Kaka-kun's than mine, but a little brother all the same. We can't bear the thought of anyone hurting him. So please, let us go to him." "Anko, Kakashi. Trust him. He specifically asked the two of you to come here for a reason, and that reason was his backup. So I ask you to trust my grandson." Iruka was silently listening to this confrontation. Mitarashi, Anko and Hada Kakashi think of Naruto as their little brother. And the Sandame thinks of his as his grandson. "Naruto, what other surprises do you have?" Kakashi and Anko nodded, albeit hesitantly. Back on the forest floor, Naruto eyed Mizuki with wary eyes. He could smell the venom burning through Mizuki rapidly. Based on this rate, Mizuki will die in the next 15 minutes. But, he has gotten ridiculously strong as well. What should I do? Naruto created several more cage buncheons without letting Mizuki know. And sent them throughout the forest. One of the cage shooshined to the treetops where the 4 ninja were located. "Yo, I'm Alpha, boss's right-hand clone. I was sent here to ask you to join the fight if Mizuki goes out of hand. Oh, and boss said that Mizuki will die in about 15 minutes, whether or not the boss kills him." "Oh, and why is that?" the Sandame asked. The Naruto clone looked grim, an expression Iruka had never seen on Naruto's face. Mizuki injected one of Orochimaru's failed experiments into his system. From the smell that boss got from it, it is composed of Orochimaru's blood, tiger DNA, and snake venom. While the potion makes the user stronger for a short while, it completely destroys the chakra pathways and leave the user too weak to think. Eventually, the venom will spread to one place, the heart. When the venom is saturated in the heart, it will constrict the heart and force the aorta to burst, effectively killing the user. Iruka was at loss for words. He seems to be stunned by Naruto a lot, right? "Naruto, how exactly do you know this?" he asked. The Naruto clone looked at Iruka critically before his eyes softened a bit. "Gomen, Iruka-sensei. I guess you are not used to this, Naruto, are you?" Iruka shook his head. The Naruto clone continued, "For the past 3 years, the boss and several jonins have been researching Orochimaru's experiments. Something big is about to happen and we know it. With the information we acquired, it was possible for us to remove Anko-ni's curse mark. The seal reacts to the user's emotions and will. Anko-ni never used the seal willingly, so there was no taint in her chakra. The more taint there is, the harder it is to remove. Plus, hers was the prototype, which means all other curse seals are modeled after hers. It also makes it the weakest seal, thus it was easier to remove." Iruka looked at the others incredulously, but they all nodded and told him that Naruto's story was 100% true. "Naruto, could I ask you a question?" "Go on, Iruka-sensei. If you are this strong, then why hide it from us? Why did you fail the exam 3 times? Naruto's face darkened. "As the boss would say, which will the people fear more, a smart demon or a stupid one? This is all our mask. The civilians are scared of boss and have tried to kill him several times. Of course they couldn't because boss has the backing of all the clan heads, plus all the jonin and Anbu in the village. Throw in Hokage into the equation, and boss is virtually untouchable. But we can't show our powers until it is safe, which means until we are ninja. Only the civilian sector of the village and some chunins hate the boss. If the boss wanted to get food in the past, all the civilians would overprice him and say that they don't serve demons. The boss only shops in Shinobi-owned store plus Ichiraku Ramen, which is the only civilian store that will serve him. He openly loves the two working there and many shinobis eat there because of boss." Iruka bowed his head in shame. He remembered when Naruto had first entered the academy. No instructors paid attention to him and Iruka admitted that he was one of them. He used to hate Naruto for something that Naruto had no control over. But as the years passed, Naruto grew on him like a little brother. Today he learned that the Naruto he knew was not the real Naruto. He wanted to know the real Naruto better. Naruto saw the look that Iruka had. "Iruka-sensei, it's alright that you couldn't see through my mask. Only those extremely close to me can like those 3. I have many secrets that only the most trusted jonin and Anbu are privy to. So don't beat yourself up." "Hi, Naruto, arigato." Naruto just smiled in response. Meanwhile, the real Naruto and Mizuki were engaged in a heated fight. Naruto figured that Mizuki had about 5 or 6 more minutes to live. "Fuetin. Detopa." Naruto cried. Mizuki deftly dodged the wind and made a couple hand seals. "Mugen. Narakumi no Jutsu." Of course Naruto had trained with the Jinjutsu mistress Yuhi Kurenai when he was younger. He knew all too well what the hell viewing technique did. Kurenai, after realizing that he wouldn't succumb to her Jinjutsus, practiced on Sarutobi Asuma. He claimed he saw all of his cigarettes being burned forever. Although Naruto was not susceptible to Jinjutsu, he couldn't cast any of them for his life. So obviously the jutsu that Mizuki had done had absolutely no effect on the blonde. Was that supposed to do something? asked Naruto. Mizuki sweat dropped. Alright, then it's my turn then. Naruto said in a bored lazy voice that reminded everyone of the Nara clan. Inwardly, Shikaku beamed as he looked through the crystal ball at the blonde with fond eyes. Alpha, ask Gigi if I can use my bloodline. I know that he said yes, but there are many people watching this fight. Will do, boss. Hokage-sama, boss asked if he could use his bloodline. Although he said that you allowed him to do so, most of those who are watching this fight through your office do not know of his bloodline. Naruto has my permission. Let him know that those who are watching are trustworthy. Hi. The Naruto clone replied. Boss, Hokage-sama says it's alright. Go on. Naruto has a bloodline. Iruka asked. Which one is it? That is something that you will have to see, Iruka. Was Anko's reply. Thanks, Alpha. Naruto took a deep breath and steadied himself. Oi, Mizuki, prepare yourself. Mizuki took up a defensive position, poised for any attack that Naruto would throw upon him. However, Naruto made no inclination to move. In reality, the words Naruto had said earlier were meant to provoke Mizuki into attacking. That way, his bloodline would be effective. Well, demon, are you going to attack or not? HN, did you say something? Kakashi grinned at his cousin. I love him so much. DCH, well, if you're not going to attack, I will. Perfect. Naruto thought, he can't escape now, plus he has 3 more minutes to live. Mizuki went through roughly 10 hand seals. Just as he was about to cry out his ultimate attack, a cry of Kage main Jutsu, success, was heard. Mizuki could not move. Even with the extra speed he had received, he was stuck. Frantically, he looked around the surrounding area for any Naras, but he couldn't find them. Instead, everyone's favorite blonde-haired demon brat kneeling 25 feet away from his with his hands in a rat seal. Shadows extended from his body and held Mizuki in place. Naruto's a Nara. Those who did not know about his bloodline looked forward in awe. Then they turned to Shikaku for an explanation. DCH, this is troublesome, but yes he is. His father was my half-brother. Same father, but different mother, although his mother did hold Nara blood as well. Naruto is my nephew and Shikamaru's cousin. The entire Nara clan knows of this, and we have adopted both Hada Kakashi and Uzumaki Naruto into our clan. Kakashi is also my nephew as Akuma was my brother's cousin, making him my cousin as well. The Nara blood runs strong through Naruto. He has made us all proud. Shikaku finished with obvious pride and his others couldn't help but agree. Elsewhere in the forest, Iruka was shaking. Naruto had a Kekai Genkai, and the Nara limited that. Sandaime-sama, did Naruto get that because of? The Hokage sensed what he was asking. No, Iruka, it is not because of Kyuubi. Naruto is part Nara, so he had their bloodline. His father did not have it, but he passed it on to Naruto. Iruka nodded and fell silent at his leader's explanation. Naruto was the most unpredictable ninja, that was for sure. Mizuki was scared. No, he was terrified. The demon brat had a bloodline, which meant he was from a clan. And not just any clan, the Nara clan. Although it was a deceptively passive clan, they were merciless to whoever harmed any of their family. Mizuki was screwed. Perhaps it would have been better to die. So team, do you give up or what? This entire thing is too troublesome and I really have to get home to tend the deer or else Yoshino Bachan will castrate me with her bare hands. All the males shivered. Yoshino could be downright scary when she was pissed. Shikaku, Naruto, Shikamaru and Kakashi could attest to that. Sighing, Naruto dropped the shadows. Kanashibari no Jutsu. He called. The Anbu level technique froze Mizuki in place. Quickly, Naruto revealed a katana that he had from a scroll. He threw it at Mizuki who could not dodge because of the paralyzes jutsu. Naruto watched in grim satisfaction as the katana loped Mizuki's head off. Alright you four, you can come out now. Alpha, report. Alpha gracefully descended from the tree. Sir, there are no known threats in the area. Mizuki was acting alone. Thanks Alpha, you and the others can dispel yourselves now. Alpha gave a quick salute to his boss and vanished in a poof of smoke. Kakashi, Anko, Iruka and the Sandaime also came down. Ah Naruto, good work. But tell me, what will you do with his body? The Sandaime asked curiously. I will examine it and send some results to Bachan, guess who? She will analyze it and send it back to me with her data. Naruto replied. Kakashi laughed. Now what say us 5 plus a dead body go back to Hokage-sama's office and have a nice long chat. The 5 ninjas all shushin back into the room. As soon as he entered the office, Naruto's eyes met Shikaku's. Gomenji-san, I couldn't keep the secret much longer. Shikaku waved it off. It's alright Naru, people were going to find out anyway. So does this mean that you will take the Nara name? Yes, I will. From today onwards my name will be Nara Naruto. Dad was an almost complete Nara, yet he took Jiraiya-san's last name of Namikaze. I can't call myself Namikaze Naruto because it would start an uproar. But one day I shall take the name Namikaze Nara Naruto. This is promise you. The fire in his eyes was so great that the onlookers were hypnotized by his piercing azure eyes. Wait, Namikaze, then does that mean Iruka never finished his thought? Hi Ruka-sensei, Namikaze. Namikaze Minato, or the Kiroi Senko, as well as Uzumaki Kushina, the bloody red habanero, were my parents. Think about it, do you really think that dad would let any other parent bear that burden? No. Mom and dad knew what they were doing. My mother was the previous container to the Kyuubi, as well as the grandniece of the Shodaime Hokage's wife, making her his grandniece as well. Only those of Senju or Uzumaki blood can hold tailed beasts properly. So in essence, I am the living relative to 3 of the 4 Hokages, 2 Sanins, the Nara clan, and Hada Kakashi. Not to mention that since the Uzumaki clan was a branch of the Senju, I am the last of Whirlpool royalty. For those in the room who didn't know of Naruto's impressive lineage, it was quite the surprise by the implications of what that meant. Naruto was basically village royalty, although the damn villagers could and probably would never see that. The others chuckled at the priceless expressions on some faces. Naruto never failed to disappoint them. The Hokage cleared his throat. Yes, well Naruto, now that everyone knows your exceptional lineage, it is time we decide your rank as well. Clearly you are a very talented ninja. Would Elite Chunin be good for you? In all honest Jiji, just put me at Genin. All eyes widened at this. Before any of you say anything, me becoming a Chunin will throw off the team numbers. At this moment there are 24 graduates, including me. If I am out of the equation, then that leaves an unbalance in the teams. So I have to be there. If I get bored or something, just promote me whenever. At that point, it would be easy to get another team member. Everyone was stunned at Naruto's humility. He would sacrifice his own superior rank to keep the teams intact. He was more like an angel than a demon. Hiruzen smiled sadly, okay, Naru-chan, a genin it is. But I order you 2 things. Hi. Naruto snapped to attention. You and Shikamaru must start showing your intelligence and true powers, that includes dropping your henge. Secondly, if I see you wearing the slightest bit of orange, you are out of the ninja career. I think I might ban orange from all the stores. Gigi, you are absolutely right. This orange monstrosity is driving me insane. And the henge, are you sure? Well of course, you look more like your father with it, and if you run into Iwanins, they most likely will add you in the bingo book as the Nidaime Kiroi Senko. Second yellow flash. Iruka felt as if he were out of the loop. Naruto, if you're wearing a henge, how come no one can see through it? Naruto replied, I'm not really sure, but I think it has something to do with Kaiunai being stuck in my gut. Kitsunes were always known for their prankster ways, and a solid henge is one of them. It's partially how I did all my pranks, that and I am a god at stealth. I hid from Anbu in plain sight in orange, for crying out loud. Anbu has an entire course designed to catching me. But it's only you who ever catches me. It's pretty amazing. Iruka rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Yeah well, it's like I can sense exactly where you are. My senses zone into you. The Sandaime and others made a mental note just to ask Iruka anytime Naruto pulled a major prank like he did back in the day, such as having the entire village's water supply turn pink and blaming it on the Harunos. Iruka-sensei, do you honestly think that I was some scrawny little kid who only ate ramen when I had Kakanai, Anko-ni, Gai-nai, Asuma-nai, Kurenai-ni, Hei-nai, and Yugao-ni as my teachers? You were taught by elite jonins. A random jonin who had watched asked. Yeah. That was his simple answer. Anyway, Kai. In front of around 50 people crowded in the Hokage's office stood a Naruto who was taller by about 5 inches, the same height of Shikamaru, with intense azure eyes. His blonde hair was slightly darker and longer and fell out in long bangs that framed his face. Think his dad's hair, his build was muscular, but not overly so. He was not the scrawny boy who Iruka has caught in all his pranks. He was a young man who was worthy of the shinobi name. He was the inheritor to the will of fire. Did you see their faces? No Dun-ai-chan, I look like the carbon copy of dad. Of course they are stunned. Haha, I got a mental snapshot of this now, only if I could develop it somehow. Naruto mentally sweat dropped. Yeah, have fun with that. Yosh, Naru-chan. Your springtime of youth flourishes so brightly. Guy said yelled. Naruto smiled warmly at him. Although many would be put off by Guy's eccentric ways, Naruto knew it was a farce to mask the pain of losing his wife a year before the Kyuubi attack. Guy had a son somewhere, but he didn't know where. Guess who it is? Thanks Gai-nai. Your springtime of youth has not diminished one bit. It burns so brightly that it blinds everyone. Naruto and Guy struck identical nice guy poses, and their teeth sparkled. Kakashi pulled Naruto to the side. Do not ever do that again or Anko will set Manda on you, understood? A storm seemed to rage outside. Hi, Kakanai. Stammered Naruto. Everyone except Guy laughed at his predicament. Guy went to go sulk in a corner with a sad aura emanating from him. Anyway, Jiji, do you know whose team I am going to be on? Naruto, why don't you tell me? Well, I am the dead last in the class, so most likely I would be with the rookie of the year and the top girl in the academy. So I guess that would be Sasuke and Sakura. And how about your sensei? That's easy. Kakanai would be our sensei because he is the only one who can teach Sasuke about the Sharingan once he activates it. Yes, very good. And how would your team turn out? In all honesty, it would fail. Everyone except the Sandame and Kakashi was surprised. Oh, why is that? Anko asked. Naruto turned to his surrogate sister. Sakura is the biggest Sasuke fangirl in existence. At least he only pretends to be, so that people will underestimate her. Sakura will blindly follow Sasuke anywhere if he decides to leave the village. She would die for him. Additionally, she hates me because according to her, I'm annoying. Kakanai's test will be about teamwork, no doubt. Sakura will work with Sasuke, but not me. Sasuke is a completely different story. I read the reports that Inoichi-san had on him. The boy is mentally unstable. He would kill his teammates to achieve his goals. You probably want me to be the team's son and bring light to Sasuke, but he will never listen. At most, I will become his rival and then he will try to kill me. The other teams are more balanced. Hinata, Kiba and Shino under Kurenai would be the tracking team. Ino, Shika and Choji would be their parents' team under Asuma Ai. My concern about Kurenai's team is that they do not have any heavy hitters, ninjutsu specialists. The Hyuga do not do ninjutsu, the Abiram rely on their bugs, but it takes too much out of them, and Kiba has a couple of combo attacks with Akamaru, but that's it. The team would not fare well against ninjutsu-based opponents. They need at least one ninjutsu person on their team. Many who did not know Naruto were fazed by how much thought he had put into this analysis in such a short time, Iruka included. Naruto, thank you for your insight. I dare say you and Kakashi should get home along with Shikaku, otherwise Yoshini-chan will kill me as well as you three. The Sandame along with the three men in question shivered at the thought of their wife and killing them. Ijiji, see you tomorrow. And tell Ko that he has to work on his Warik no Jutsu. Naruto disappeared in a burst of flames. Shikaku and Kakashi followed suit. Warik no Jutsu? What's that? Genma asked. That technique is Naruto's inner pervert coming out. He calls it the cage killer. Now he's teaching it to my grandson. We are also so screwed. The Sandame shivered once more. The remaining people in the room sweat dropped as they saw their leader cowering in fear from a 12-year-old boy's technique, even if the boy could give most members in the room a run for their money. Shikamaru met Naruto at the front gates. Yo Naruto, how'd capturing the traitor go? He's dead now so no worries. Anyway, Sandame Jiji said that we had to show our real selves. Not the mask that we created. Shikamaru gave him a once-over. So that's why you dropped the henge. Precisely, Naruto answered. Let's go to bed. We have to go to the academy tomorrow. Oh, you should probably know that my name's Nara Naruto now. It was Dad's real last name, so it's alright. Shikamaru grinned. Good, so now you can start acting like one instead of the hyperactive idiot that you were. TCH, troublesome, but yes. Naruto replied. Spoken like a true Nara. Let's hurry before Mom finds us. She might kill us. Both boys hurried into their rooms. Nara Yoshino stepped out of the shadows and muttered, I'm not that scary, am I? A bird dropped dead from the tree as she and her trusty frying pan went to go hit Shikaku over the head for letting her darling nephew take on an enemy by himself. Shikamaru and Naruto winced as they heard their dad-uncle's yells coming from downstairs. Yep, Nara Shikaku was whipped, figuratively and literally. A new dawn was beginning, and with it a new era of heroes would emerge and change the shinobi world as everyone knew it. Nara Naruto and Nara Shikamaru would be at the middle of this change. Old legends will die, and new legends will be born. Naruto met Shikamaru at the breakfast table where Kakashi, Shikaku, and Yoshino already were seated. Good morning. Naruto yawned sleepily. Morning cuz. Shikamaru replied with his own yawn. You're up early today. Naruto noticed. Usually the boys would come down at the same time. I woke up a minute before the alarm clock went off. Usually it takes me 10 minutes after the alarm to get up, but today was different. There was no point in going back to sleep, so here I am. That really is troublesome, isn't it? At this, Kakashi sweat dropped. The only troublesome thing here are my two lazy-ass cousins. Anyway, Shikamaru said, we should leave in 5 minutes if you want to be early. With you dropping the henge, it's only a matter of time before you get fangirls. Naruto had a horrified expression on his face. Fangirls, he stammered. The things that follow you around no matter what. The very bane of my existence. Shit man, I am so screwed. Ishino banged Naruto over the head with a frying pan. You will not use such vulgar language in this house. Do you understand? Naruto yelped out in pain. Hi Bachan. I do. Good, now finish your breakfast darling. You wouldn't want to be late, would you? The men at the table were all thinking the same thing, are all women bipolar? Shikamaru decided to speak up. Kakan-ai, do you know who our senseis are going to be? Kakashi I smiled. I do. The team assignments were given to me early this morning. But, it's a surprise so I'm not going to ruin it for you. Ah, forget it, Shika, we'll find out anyway. But I'm guessing there are slight changes from the teams that I thought up yesterday. Naruto asked his silver-haired cousin. Yep. Hokage-sama stated that you were right and decided to change the teams up. I have to go now so I'll see you at the academy. Thanks for the meal, boss-san. Jana. He disappeared in a puff of smoke. Shikamaru rose from the table. Naru, we should leave too. Alright Shika, let's go. The two of them disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Ishino looked at Shikaku. Our two little boys are growing up so quick, Nishika-chan. That's right, Yashi-chan. Although they will face hardships later on, those two are the future of Konoha. With Kakashi and the others to guide them, the two of them will become a force to be reckoned with. Naruto and Shikamaru startled Iruka who was entering the classroom. The two of them, dead last and one above the dead last, were seated together in the back of the room with their heads down on the desks, appearing to be sleeping. But Iruka knew now to look underneath the underneath. He focused chakra to his eyes and saw that the two boys were conversing silently using Anbu sign language. Shika, I'm hungry. Why didn't you get ramen before? Ayu was sleeping so I didn't want any. TCH, that's troublesome. Wait it out. If Kaken Ai is your sensei, then you have a good 2 hours before he comes to get you. Eat then. Thanks cousin. You're so smart. I'm just as smart as you are, you know. Whatever you say. After that the two Naras really did fall asleep. Haruka's sweat dropped. The two were using Anbu sign language to talk about food. I guess Naruto really is a Nara. After about 10 minutes, more kids began to trickle in. No one seemed to notice a blonde and a brunette in the back of the room sleeping. That is until of course Ino, Chaoji and Kiba entered the room. They had been told what Naruto had done yesterday. The three of them knew of Naruto's fuzzy little problem and lineage since they were kids. It never bothered them, especially after Naruto summoned the furball a couple years ago and Ino had glumped him. The fox was quite passive and he only helped Naruto. Ino saw their two friends. Hey guys, she whispered, Naruto's dropped the hinge. He's not wearing that orange thing anymore either. The two boys looked at their sleeping friend. Indeed, he had ditched the orange jumpsuit and was now dressed like a true shinobi. He had on black shinobi pants and a long-sleeved navy blue shirt that had the Uzumaki spiral on the arm. The spiral showed the closeness of the Senju and Uzumaki, it made Naruto feel proud of his lineage. His pants had several pockets in them that held things ranging from senbon to sealing scrolls. His kunai holster was wrapped around his left leg. All in all, he looked like a true shinobi. The trio walked up to them. Ino gently shook Naruto awake, while Chaoji did the same thing to Shikamaru. The Nara cousins awoke gradually to see the face of their three oldest friends. Naruto broke the silence. Yo Mina, ready to rock the ninja world? You bet Naruto. Chaoji said. By the way, why did you drop the hinge now? Naruto sighed. Orders, my friend, orders. Shikamaru and I have to show our true powers albeit slowly. Sandame Jiji demands it from us. Speaking of which, Ino, are you going to stop acting like a Sasuke fangirl yet? Ino laughed. Of course Naruto, did you actually think that I would still pretend to like that gay emo after I became a kunoichi? I'm not Sakura. True. You are the only respectable kunoichi in our group. Sakura has no skills and Hinata she has no backbone. You on the other hand, you're not afraid to speak your mind and you pack a mean punch. Naruto said. Ino smiled at her friend, thanks Naru, that meant a lot to me. Naruto grinned his foxy grin in return. So, do you know whose teams we are going to be on? Kiba asked. Shikamaru answered, no, not really. Naruto, after his escapade yesterday, voiced his opinions on the preordained teams and apparently they got switched around. Chaoji looked at Naruto in awe. Whoa, Naruto, you really did that. HMPHF, it was troublesome, but yes. The three non-Naras sweat dropped. Naruto, you really are a Nara, aren't you? Ino commented. Of course I am. My name is Nara Naruto after all. This surprised the three non-Naras. Really? So you've taken the clan name and all? Kiba asked. While having my mother's family name is great, I really am a Nara so yes. My name is Nara Naruto. At that moment Sakura walked in the room looking for her Sasuke-kun. When she couldn't find him, she looked for Ino. But she couldn't find her either. Why? Ino had done a simple genjutsu that let her blend in with the background. While the four boys tried to hold in their laughter, Sakura shrugged and sat down in an empty seat. Sasuke walked in a few minutes later with his duck butt hairstyle that almost all the girls seemed to love. The boys would never know why. All at once the girls started squealing with the pink-haired one being the loudest. Oh Sasuke-sama, please marry me. Sasuke-kun. Sasuke-kun. Give me your children. Sasuke-sama. Take me now. The last one disgusted many. They were only 12 for Kami's sake. Sasuke probably wasn't even fertile. Plus he was gay so what was the point? Naruto and Shikamaru got identical evil grins on their faces. The two looked at each other and simultaneously whispered, "Kage main jutsu success." Two shadows shot out of them and controlled the actions of Sasuke and Sakura. The two in question were moved forward by a seemingly unknown force. Shikamaru Naruto. Sasuke and Sakura slammed into each other with their lips touching. The collective gasp was heard from the girls in the room. Sasuke was appalled at himself for doing something so disgusting. Sakura was on cloud 9 billion. Her Sasuke-kun had kissed her. No words could express what she was feeling. So she did what any respectable kunoichi did, she fainted. Iruka was watching all of this with an amused eye. He had seen the two Naras use their bloodline, and it was quite funny. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office, the Jonin instructors were cracking up. "Damn Kakashi, your cousins sure are diabolical aren't they?" Guy asked. Kakashi wiped the tears out of his eye. You say something. "No, curse you and your hip ways Kakashi, my eternal rival." Iruka decided that enough was enough in his classroom. "Shut up." He roared using his big-headed jutsu. "Sensei, where is Mizuki-sensei?" asked a newly revived Sakura. Iruka cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Mizuki-sensei turned traitor to us and tried to steal the scroll of sealing." Another gasp was heard throughout the room. Mizuki-sensei was a traitor. "So where is he now?" asked a random kid. "He's dead." Iruka replied grimly. That stunned all the kids except for Ino, Shikamaru, Naruto, Kiba, and Choji. "Right, so let's get back on track, shall we?" Iruka said, sensing more questions. "It's time for your team placements. Team 1, these teams aren't important. Team 7. Haruno Sakura, Nara Shikamaru, and Nara Naruto. Your sensei will be Hada Kakashi." Naruto and Shikamaru sat up straight. It was impossible. Family members were not allowed on the same team, so why were there 3 family members on the same team? Kakashi should have taken Sasuke because he was the only one who had the Shanringan in Konoha. Many people swiveled around in their seats as if seeing Naruto for the first time. They were shocked to see a very handsome man that looked like the Yondaime Hokage sitting in the back seat in a very relaxed position next to Shikamaru. Many people did double takes as they looked at him. True to Shikamaru's word, many Sasuke fangirls had lust in their eyes while looking at Naruto. Naruto gulped nervously and put his head down while Shikamaru guffawed at his cousin's predicament. Of course Sakura had to add her 2 cents. "Sensei, why is Naruto Baka on my team? How did he pass in the first place, and his name?" Sakura was furious that she had 2 dead lasts on her team. They were doomed to fail now. Sakura Iruka started patiently. "Naruto's test was messed up so he never failed. As for why he is on your team, the teams were decided by Sandaime-sama, not me. I was also surprised by this. And his name, you will have to ask him yourself." Sakura shot a glare at Naruto who smiled pleasantly at her. "Teammate. Uchiha Sasuke, Inyazuka Kiba, and Hyuga Hinata. Your sensei will be Yuhi Kurenai." Sasuke looked indifferent. He was happy that he didn't have fangirls on his team. Outside of her pitiful exterior, Hinata was fuming. "How dare they don't put me with my Naruto-kun, they will all pay cha." Kiba on the other hand, was crying tears of pain while Ino comforted him. Why did he have to get stuck on a team which consisted of a boy incapable of saying 2 words and a girl who no one could understand because of her enormous stutter? Meanwhile in her seat in heaven, Kami was cackling madly at the predicament of the poor boy. A gust of wind flew around her, making her hair wild. She looked like Medusa when she was pissing. Her subordinate slowly inched away from her, hoping that she would calm down or else the second coming of the Kyuubi would happen. Team 9. Abiram Shino, Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Choji. Your sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. The 3 of them looked at each other and gave silent nods of approval. Naruto decided that some matters had to be put to rest. "Excuse me Iruka-sensei," the entire class turned to face him. "If I am not mistaken, family members are not allowed to be on the same team, so why are myself and Shikamaru, who are cousins, on it? Plus Kakashi." "Boy, Naruto, don't complain. At least you have 2 people on the team who love you." Kyuubi decided that he had to be heard. "That's true Nai-chan, I shouldn't complain." "Naruto, I can't answer that question. You have to ask the Hokage." Naruto nodded. "Well then, wait for your senseis who should be there shortly." Iruka concluded. Asuma and Kurenai entered the classroom. Kakashi was nowhere to be found. The 2 elite Jonins turned to look at their 2 favorite genins. "Yonaru-chan, Shika-chan, I'm sure both of you are surprised by the teams this year. Dad said that you would be," Asuma said. "That's right Asuma Nai-chan. Gigi really did surprise us, didn't he Shika?" Shikamaru nodded. The entire class was confused at the confrontation. How did Naruto and Shikamaru know this world-renowned elite Jonin? Of course an idiot just had to ask that. Kurenai responded, "Naru and Shika are like our baby brothers, we have been taking care of them since before they were born. Ataudos. TCH, troublesome." The both of them replied and looked away in embarrassment. Asuma and Kurenai chuckled. The entire class was very confused at that moment. "Team 10, you're with me." And teammate, come with me. Naruto and Shikamaru wished their friends luck. Soon, it was only Sakura, Naruto, and Shikamaru left in the room. Sakura was off in her own little world, while Naruto and Shikamaru were playing an intense game of shogi. Check Shika. Not yet Naru, haha, I blocked your check. Okay, if I move my knight there then. After about 2 hours, Sakura was getting frustrated. Gah. Where the hell is our sensei? What idiot can be 2 hours late to a meeting? And you two idiots, how can you play shogi for that long without someone winning? It just shows how retarded you are. Naruto and Shikamaru sensed Kakashi hovering outside of the door. They would take people talking crap about themselves, but not their family. Haruno-san, there is a reason that Kakashi-sensei is a jonin. I'm sure he has a good reason to be late. Or perhaps you would like to test his worth as a jonin. Shikamaru asked the Banshee in a deceptively calm voice. As if on cue, Kakashi walked in the room with his usual eye smile. Yo, sorry I'm late, I got lost on the road of life. Sakura turned to Shikamaru and Naruto to ask them if that was a good reason, but to her surprise, the two Naras were accepting his excuse. It was like they had heard it so many times that they were used to it. You are absolutely right, Kakashi-sensei. I myself took a wrong turn on that road with Shikamaru, and we somehow ended up in the forest of death. Odd, isn't it? Naruto said. Shikamaru and Kakashi nodded their consent. Sakura stared at the three men in disbelief. It was official. Her team was retarded and her precious Asu-kun couldn't save her now. But of course Asu-kun was hers now. He had stolen her innocence with that kiss and he would make a woman out of her. She was determined of it even if she had to tie him down and force him to do so. Not once did she consider that this might be rape of any sort. Are all three of you insane? She exclaimed. How can anyone get lost on the road of life? What the hell is it anyway? Naruto stared at the pink-haired girl for many minutes. Haruno-san, the road of life is the very road of our lives. It is the road that you and I walk on every day. We get lost on it fairly often. And yes, we are insane. Being ninjas automatically makes us so. Naruto told her. It was then that Sakura really got a look at Naruto. He looked hot and more mature. A dark blush rose upon her face. Naruto, why don't you call me Sakura-chan anymore? I thought we were friends. Naruto scoffed. Friends, Haruno-san. Are we friends? As I recall, you would bash my head against the nearest wall every time I opened my mouth. Tell me, in what way, shape or form does that make us friends? And as to why I call you Haruno-san, it's because I will call my precious people by their first names. I do not know you, Haruno-san. In the past when I called you Sakura-chan, it was simply to rile you up. Now that we are shinobi and teammates, that useless banter can stop. You may call me whatever you would like as long as it is respectful. I will only call you Haruno-san as well, my cousin. He said, gesturing to Shikamaru. Haruno-san, can I ask you a question? Naruto inquired. She nodded her head. Why did you become a ninja? For what purpose? Sakura opened her mouth to speak, but quickly closed it. What was she supposed to say? She became a ninja for Sasuke's sake. Naruto and Shikamaru exchanged glances with Kakashi. Shikamaru sighed and said, Haruno-san, if you became a ninja for the sake of a person, more specifically a boy, then please give up being a ninja. This is not a game. We know that you come from a civilian family, but the rest of us do not. Our family members have died, some right before our eyes. All of us in this room have experienced death in this room, but you have not. A ninja's life is difficult. The maximum age for an average ninja is 35. Some die younger and some die older. The three of us have come to the conclusion that you are not fit to be a ninja at this current moment. You are too thin and you are on a diet. This is extremely harmful to the body. Please consider our words and change your ways, or they will be the death of you. Sakura was close to tears at the moment. How could they have come to that conclusion without talking? Who the hell were these two deadlasts to lecture her on being a shinobi? She was the #1 kunoichi of the year for Kami's sake. They were at the bottom of the class. Who are you to tell me anything? You are just losers who are wannabe shinobis. I am the top kunoichi of the year. Even Ino Pig can't compare to me. Naruto looked at her with unrestrained contempt that made Sakura cringe. Haruno-san, rank means nothing. The only thing you know have is book smarts. And what exactly will you do with those? Bore your opponent to death with useless facts. In any physical exercise, you ranked at the bottom of the list. And Ino-chan was told, as were we by our family, not to stand out too much. Even her crush on Sasuke was fake, in case you haven't noticed. Being Rookie of the Year or Kunoichi of the Year draws attention to yourself, and not the good kind. When you are ranked at the bottom of the class, nobody will care who you are because you are the supposed dead last. A ninja's greatest tool is deception, something Ino, myself, and Shikamaru have utilized to our full potential. Because of your previous actions and comments, myself and my cousin can only consider you a comrade, nothing more and nothing less. To gain our respect, you must work for it. Respect is not given, it is earned, even if you are the Hokage himself. Haruno-san, the two boys are right. I looked over your file and the only thing you rank top in is tests. Anything else and you are considered the dead last while these boys are top ranked. They are correct. Rank is only for show. The true test begins now. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. Kakashi disappeared in a poof of smoke. Sakura was in turmoil. Even her sensei had told her off. And Ino never loved Sasuke-kun. That meant that there was one less person vying for his affections. He was all hers now. Her mind went back to what the three men said. She was useless in anything but book smarts. She would have to reconsider everything. When she looked up, her two teammates were gone. She dashed off to the roof, hoping her sensei didn't hold it against her if she was late. When she arrived, she had a minute to spare. She sighed in relief and took a seat as far away from the three as possible. Kakashi gave her a grim smile. Haruno-san, as I was telling the boys here, I want you to introduce yourself to the team. State your likes and dislikes as well. Sakura said, Sensei, you are the unknown person here. I am sure that neither of those two know you very well. So please go first. Oh, how very wrong she was. Kakashi sighed. Very well, my name is Hada Kakashi. My dislikes are my own, and my likes you are too young to hear that. Naruto made a coughing sound that sounded very similar to Anko, and Kakashi was grateful that his mask was in place, or he would have looked like a blushing girl. You next, Pinky. Sakura growled at her nickname. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like reading and adding on to a certain collection of mine. My dream is to become a certain man's wife, his name I will not say. I dislike those who look down on me and Ino Pig. She ended her rant with a fangirlish squeal. The men's sweat dropped at this. If it was not obvious that Sakura was a fangirl, it was now. She had just insulted all three of them and they were hating her more by the minute. Kakashi nodded. You next, Shikamaru. DCH, troublesome. My name is Nara Shikamaru. I like my family, tending to the deer, cloud gazing, friends, and surprisingly training. I dislike fangirls and anyone who disrespects my family. He gave a small glare to Sakura. Naruto, you next. Hi, my name is Nara Naruto. I concur with everything Shika said. Kakashi gave a small eye smile. Well, the three of you should know that the real Genin test will begin tomorrow at 6 o'clock sharp. What you took today was simply a practice one. Out of the 24 graduates, only 9 will become Genin. You only have a 66.66% chance of passing. I suggest you don't eat anything or else you will throw up. Jana. He disappeared in a swirl of leaves this time. Sakura was horrified. She had done all that work for nothing. She looked at her two teammates and to her surprise, they didn't look moved in the least bit. Why aren't you guys scared? We might not pass. Shikamaru said, Haruno-san, we come from a ninja family. We knew about this before. I believe that it is also written in one of the ninja textbooks as well. With that he and Naruto vanished in a swirl of leaves as well. Sakura stood on the roof in shock for a couple minutes. The Shushin was a Jonin level technique that was not taught until one was a Chunin. How did the two dobes of the class know it? She ran all the way back to her home and cried for the rest of the day, not even looking at her Sasuke shrine once. At night, Kakashi was strolling down the streets of Konoha, pleased by the warm breeze that propelled the delicious scents towards him. He suddenly turned around when a familiar smell assaulted his nose. It smelled like dango, flowers, and snake residue. Enko? Kakashi breathed. She looked stunning, according to him. She ditched her usual fishnet shirt and trench coat for a casual civilian dress that revealed all her curves. In all of his 25 years, he had never met a woman as beautiful as Mitarashi Anko. Hopefully one day she would become Haddock Anko. He loved her, there was no denying it. The question was, did she love him? Hanbanwa, Kaka-kun. Anko said cheerfully. She loved the nightlife in Konoha. The villagers had gone inside and only shinobi remained. No wonder she was happy. Being with Kakashi only deepened that feeling. Kakashi cleared his throat nervously. He could read all the smut in the world, but he couldn't make 2 words in front of the woman he loved. What a failure. So Anko, what brings you out here tonight? Anko beamed at him. I was just taking a walk and I saw you. What say you and I go to the bar and have a drink or two? She raised her hands above her head and stretched. In doing so, Kakashi got a good look at her long creamy legs. An unfamiliar sensation assaulted his nether regions. Anko grabbed Kakashi's hand and sprinted down the street. They were very close to the bar when Kakashi felt like he was about to explode, so he grabbed her around the waist and shushed them to her apartment. Aka, what's going on with you? Anko asked worriedly. Kakashi was looking very worn at the moment. Hey, are you okay? Do you want anything? Kakashi looked at her for a couple of minutes. She squirmed under his one-eyed gaze. What I want, he growled, is you. With that being said, he pinned her against the wall, pulled down his mask, and stared at her again. She was mesmerized by his face. Aside from the scar running down his left eye, he was flawless. His angled face was just over her own. His lips were hovering inches from hers and he looked primal, wolf-like almost. It turned her on. His eyes, even his Sharingan eye were darkened with lust. Anko was slightly frightened by this Kakashi. "Kakashi, what's going on?" Anko asked again. What could Kakashi tell her that he loved her and wanted to take her on the wall at that very moment? "Hey, Kaka, talk to me," she said, stroking his face gently. Kakashi leaned into his touch and that's when Anko smelt it. That was lust that was coming off of Kakashi. He wanted her. Kakashi pushed off the wall and turned away from her, unable to look at her face. He was about to brutally take the woman that he loved without her consent. He was a monster. Anko gently turned him around so he would look at her. She gave him a small peck on the cheek that made a raging fire burn in his belly. "Tell me, Kaka. Please." At her urging, Kakashi bent his head to look at Anko. She was stunningly beautiful, that innocent expression made it more so. He couldn't take it anymore. Once again he pinned her against the wall. His mouth latched on against hers in a frenzy, his tongue gently coaxing her mouth open. Anko was in turmoil. This unfamiliar feeling was spreading throughout her, pooling together in her core, and she felt like she would lose control at any minute. She parted her mouth slightly and his tongue and hers were locked in a battle for dominance. She could not let that happen. She was Mitarashi Anko for crying out loud. No man, even if he was devastatingly handsome, was allowed to create a pile of mush out of her. She broke the kiss and heard his disappointed sigh. "Anko," he began, "I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to me. I understand if you would like me to leave for taking advantage of you. Do you honestly think that you can leave after that, Kaka-kun?" Anko asked sultrily. What? He stammered. He wanted her so bad and now maybe he would get his chance. But when Anko got that glint in her eye, something or someone was going to get hurt. And he had a sinking feeling that someone was him. "I feel so hot right now. And you are the one who made me feel this way." Quickly, she grabbed his hand and led him inside her bedroom door. The two stared at each other for a couple minutes. "Kakashi, aren't you going to do something? I thought you were first." Anko sighed and sat down on her bed. "We're hopeless, aren't we?" He looked at her quizzically. "We both want this, but we are just too afraid to start anything that might change our friendship." Kakashi also sighed and flopped down on the bed. "Anko, to tell you the truth, I've wanted this for a long time. I don't know how much longer I can wait. I just need to know if you are ready." Repercussions be damned. How long is a long time? Since a boy could start having wet dreams. That is a long time. Indeed it is. Kakashi started to get up from the bed thinking it was hopeless, but was stopped by Anko's foot on his chest. "Aka, like I said before, we both want this and no one is leaving until either one of us gets it. Do you understand?" She asked forcefully. Kakashi grinned a very Naruto-like grin before he tackled her to the bed, kissing her roughly, leaving no corner of her mouth untouched. She tasted of sugar and dango, the exact opposite of her violent personality. He tasted like ramen and onigiri. It reminded her of Naruto. One of Kakashi's hands pinned Anko's hands above her head, while the other was slowly making its way down to her nether regions, leaving a trail of goosebumps. She shivered and moaned against his mouth. Suddenly, he let her go. "Anko," he said teasingly. "You're wearing too many clothes. It's time to take them off." He reached over and pulled the zipper on the back of her dress down, running his fingers down her back as he did so. "Hang on, Kashi, I'll be naked just by one piece of clothing, so I will have to help you take some clothes off." She pulled his shirt off, trailing her hands over the taut muscular flesh of his stomach. It was his turn to shiver now. Kakashi pulled off his pants, leaving him in only his boxers. Anko lay on her bed in a very suggestive pose, wearing only her panties. Kakashi looked at her hungrily. Her breasts rose and fell as she breathed deeply. Slowly, he hooked a finger inside of her lace panties, pulling them down, inch by inch, agonizingly slow, just to torture her. She was growing impatient. She wouldn't admit it, but she was a blushing virgin, okay maybe not a blushing one, but a virgin all the same. He would soon find out. Kakashi let out a small grin when his prize was revealed to him. He brushed the top of her sex with his fingers, earning a low moan of want from Anko. His groin tightened quickly and a look of anticipation came over him. There was one slight problem. Anko was naked and Kakashi was not. It bothered her severely. Anko forced herself upright and viciously tore his boxers down so that he was revealing himself to her in all of his 8-inch glory. "There, now we are even." "So where were you?" Anko asked cheekily. Kakashi smiled at her and quickly dipped 2 fingers inside of her quivering warmth, watching her writhe and squirm underneath him. He pumped his fingers in and out, causing her wetness to grow to exponential levels. Kakashi smirked. He was going to bring her to the edge and stop. Before he could put that plan into action, Anko grabbed his hand and flipped them over so their positions were reversed. She grasped his length and gently pumped it, earning groans of pleasure from him. He reached up and pulled her face down towards his, where they met in a searing kiss. "Anko?" Kakashi gasped. I need you now. Forget foreplay, we'll do it next time. I want to be in you now. This time, Anko did blush as she was flipped over once again looking up into her soon-to-be lover's mismatched eyes. Kakashi was hovering over her with his knees in between her legs, his member poised at her entrance. She saw tender love in his eyes and she knew in that moment that Kakashi would never hurt. So she would trust him completely. Hey Kakashi. Anko stammered. It's my first time, so please be gentle. Anko admitted with a blush that could rival Hinata's. Kakashi gave a small laugh. Anko, I've never done this either, but I'll try my best. But that being said he penetrated her barrier with a single forceful thrust. She gasped out in pain, tears spilling down her face. Gently, her caressed her face and kissed the tears away. I'm sorry. Forgive me, love. Kakashi whispered to her. Soon the pain began to die down and Anko gave a small nod of her head. Kakashi started moving in her gently at first, picking up speed as he was encouraged by her moans. She met him thrust for thrust. Both were lost in the throes of passion. 30 minutes later, he collapsed on top of her panting. Thank Kami we are ninja, the stamina is so useful for these types of activities. The two rested for some time. Finally Anko spoke up. Hey Kashi. Yeah? Do you have a favorite scene from the Icha Icha books? He got an evil perverted grin on his face. Why do you ask? I was thinking we could try some oof. Anko couldn't say any more as Kakashi got her ready for round 2, then 3 and eventually 4. At night, Anko's neighbors were traumatized by the sounds coming out of her bedroom. Who knew that the sweet and slightly sadistic interrogator was an absolute monster in bed. Needless to say, Mido Guy's flames of youth were temporarily stopped when he heard his friend moan his eternal rival's name very loudly, many times during the night. Curse you Kakashi. Why do you have to trump me in every category? In our household, day of Kakashi's test. It was roughly 7 o'clock in the morning when both the boys woke up. Their cousin hadn't bothered coming home last night, so they ate breakfast in relative peace, just the two of them and the myriad of birds chirping happily outside. Shika, do you think Kakanai will give us the infamous bell test? I don't know Naru, it's obvious that he will test our teamwork somehow, but we know him too well for him to give us the bell test. HN, that's true. Do you think we should leave now? Sakura will most likely be waiting at the training field. Kakanai did tell her to come at 6 am sharp. She probably didn't eat breakfast either, the stupid girl. A smart ninja will go to the battlefield well fed and watered. The one who wants to die wouldn't. Boy, Shika. Let's just go to the training field and watch the clouds. Field 7 has the nicest view of the sky. Shikamaru, never one to pass on an opportunity to watch the clouds, willingly left with Naruto. As they arrived at training ground 7, they noticed a pink-haired banshee fly their way with her fist raised high. Naruto and Shikamaru lazily sidestepped her attempted punch, which caused her to get even madder. You idiots are late plus you won't stand still to let me punch you. Shikamaru and Naruto both sighed. They would have to beat it into the pink-haired banshee just who was the idiot here. Baruno-san, how are we late when sensei hasn't arrived yet? Shikamaru asked. Furthermore, do you really expect an opponent to stand still as you assault him? No. So why should we? Just because you are our teammate does not mean that you can do whatever you please to us. Naruto added. Both he and Shikamaru plopped down on the ground and began their cloud gazing while talking to each other about menial things. Sakura's wrist fell limply to her side. It was at this moment that she realized that Naruto would no longer be her punching bag. Naruto asking her for dates in the academy had been a great source of confidence and now that confidence was gone. What was she to do? Kakashi arrived 2 hours later at 9 o'clock. Yo sorry I was late, I woke up in the wrong bed this morning and it took me some time to return home. Liar. The pink-haired demon screeched. Kakashi was glowing. He had the best night of his life and was waiting for the continuation of it tonight. Pages 15 to 20 were covered from the first volume. Now it was time to try out the big boy stuff, pages 53 to 70. His great uncle was a genius. Naruto looked at Shikamaru. Somehow I don't think that was an excuse. Shikamaru looked like he was going to be sick. Naruto looked slightly green himself. Okay team, time for your test. Shikamaru and Naruto waited eagerly while Sakura was apprehensive. Their teacher was crazy, that was for sure. What tests could he possibly give them? Kakashi dangled 2 bells in front of them and pulled out a timer. Shikamaru and Naruto sighed in disappointment. Same old same old. You have till noon to get the bells from me, the person who doesn't will have to be sent back to the academy. Do you understand? Kakashi looked pointedly at Sakura who gulped. Mendakus. Shikamaru said. Kakashi looked at his cousin with humor in his eyes. Nani Shika-chan, do you have something today? Shikamaru grimaced at his nickname. TCH, we know what this test is really about Kakashi-sensei. Oh said Kakashi with fake thought. And what would that be? Teamwork. Naruto replied. You only have 2 bells which means that we would be pitted against each other. It would never occur to any of us that you are a Jonin and we are Genin, so we could never take you by ourselves. Kakashi looked at each of them with a critical eye. Congratulations. You pass. Kakashi exclaimed with mock happiness. Sakura looked confused but was relieved that she had passed even though she didn't do anything. Shikamaru and Naruto both mumbled troublesome and plopped down on the grass again. This time Kakashi joined them. The three cousins gazed at the clouds with Sakura watched them with increasing rage. What the hell are you lazy asses doing watching the clouds? Why can't you do anything productive with your day? Kakashi got up to brush the dirt off of his Jonin vest. Haruno-san, I was observing the team yesterday after yesterday's meeting. You went home for 2 hours doing God knows what, then went off to chase Uchiha Sasuke. Is that what you call productive? These two here were training in their family's dojo after the meeting. Although you are from a civilian family, it was your choice to become a ninja. Either act like one or leave this team now. Shikamaru and Naruto were both proud of their cousin for making the pink-haired one look like an absolute moron. Kakashi never really observed Sakura, he was simply guessing. But the look on her face told all. It was true. Sakura tried to make a futile comeback. Well, Naruto isn't from a ninja clan either. All three of them looked at her like she was stupid. Naruto-san, my name is Naruto. I am from a ninja clan. My entire family are ninja. I am Shikamaru's biological cousin. I have the Nara bloodline as well. You asked about my name yesterday. Uzumaki was my mother's last name. Nara is my father's, even if he didn't take the name. My father was Shikamaru's dad's brother. I have many more relations, but do not wish to tell you any. Good day Haruno-san. With that Naruto and Shikamaru left. Kakashi gave Sakura a frightening look. Get your facts straight before you say something. Think before you act. And also, start training. You need to more than the others. Your physical conditioning is weak and is disgraceful to Kunoichi everywhere. Kakashi left in a swirl of leaves. Sakura was left in the field dumbfounded as to what had happened. Naruto and Shikamaru found Kakashi at the ramen stall. Yo. He raised his hand lazily. Okay, Nai-chan. Why did you give us the bell test? We knew about that so long ago. Shikamaru asked. To tell you the truth, it would have been too troublesome to give you another test. Kakashi replied. Naruto and Shikamaru sweat dropped at that response. So that's what we sound like when we say troublesome. Understandable, but what about that excuse this morning? Naruto asked. Kakashi blushed. How could he tell his kawaii pure cousins that he had done sinful acts with a sexy kunoichi named Mitarashi Anko? You say something. And with that he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Anko? It was more a statement than a question. Anko? Shikamaru agreed definitively. Gucci broke them out of their thoughts. Yo boys, what will it be today? 2 bowls miso ramen please old man. Naruto said. 1 bowl of beef ramen for me. Shikamaru said. After they had finished their meal, the cousins took a stroll through town where Naruto was attracting attention from the civilians that he hadn't gotten before. The civilians were doing double takes as they wondered why the Yondaime Hokage was back in his chibi form. The girls had hearts in their eyes for the 2 boys. Yo Naruto. Nani, Kaiu Nai. I'm bored. Too bad. Entertain me. Hell no. Hey, it was worth a try at least. Anyway, we have to get your training with Kitsune Ken started. Tell Shikamaru that he will be learning this as well. Will do boss. When will training begin? 2 weeks from now. Alright Nai-chan. Go to sleep now. Will do kiddo. Boy, Shika. Yeah Naru. The both of us are going to be learning Kitsune Ken from Kaiu Nai in 2 weeks. It will help us tremendously in the future. Is that alright? It's troublesome, but if he says it's necessary then yes, I'll do it. Great, now let's go home. Yoshino Bachan made our favorite dinner tonight. Naruto, it's only 10:30 in the morning. Is it now? Well oops. Yosh let's go train. TCH, sometimes he's a Nara and sometimes he's an Uzumaki. Naruto you are one troublesome cousin. As Naruto and Shikamaru spent their day happily in Konoha, 2 forces of darkness were going to destroy the peace that Konoha had 12 years after the 9-tailed attack. Orochimaru and Madara Uchiha would soon come to know that when you fuck with Konoha, Nara Naruto and Nara Shikamaru would fuck with you right back. Team 7 had been active for about 2 weeks now and Shikamaru and Naruto were at their wits' end. The pink-haired one had not done one single thing in helping them. The most she did was lift a box here and there or paint a fence. The Sandaime and Kakashi had noticed this and cut her pay in half, dividing the rest of between the 3 of them. Not that she noticed anyway. The missions were troublesome, to say the least. Cleaning the Inyazuka kennels or mucking manure out of a nearby farm to catching the demon cat Tora, the boys were simply not being challenged enough. However, doing these missions did have a bright side. Many civilians were beginning to warm up to Naruto. At first, when they saw the demon child walk through their gates ready to work, they thought he would grow 9 tails and have bright red-eyed and destroy everything in his path. But when they actually spent time with him and saw him working, they couldn't help but feel slightly ashamed that they had ostracized a boy who had a heart as pure as an angel. Every civilian family that he met had taken an immediate liking to him. Originally, when word had spread that Naruto was actually a Nara and even had the bloodline, a silent uproar had been made by some civilians. However, they were then told off by their friends, most who had the same mentality that they had now. The civilians decided to give the boy a chance. It was small, but it was a start nonetheless. Naruto was starting to get some waves and smiles in the street from the civilian population. He and Shikamaru were absolute naturals with children and were paid double in the babysitting missions. Unknowingly to the both of them, many women had seen this and set up their own fan club for the two handsome boys. They had made a pact to get in the boys' pants so that they would have little Narutos and Shikamarus running around. Unbeknownst to anyone, two girls, one in Sunagakure, the other on the outskirts of Wave Country, were the only two who would have the pleasure of bearing the Nara cousins' kids. Of course, this doesn't happen till much later in the story, so don't expect the boys to be jumping the girls' bones the second they see each other. The civilian girls thought of both as the strong and silent type, exactly like Hada Kakashi, but with varying hair colors. Wherever Kakashi, Naruto, and Shikamaru went, girls followed them with hearts in their eyes. The situation was quickly becoming too troublesome for all three of the men. The cousins traveled on rooftops while reporting for missions, with Sakura lagging behind. Speaking of Sakura, her days as a kunoichi were getting worse and worse. She remembered when she had a chat with Ino 3 days ago. Flashback Yamanaka store. The door to the Yamanaka florist shop jingled as a new customer walked in. Ino's head popped up from behind the desk. "Welcome to Yamanaka florists. How can we?" She tapered off as she saw who it was in front of the counter. Sakura smiled nervously at her once best friend. "Hi Ino, can we talk?" Ino gave her an indifferent look that reminded her of Shikamaru when he looked at her. "About what?" Ino asked. Sakura laughed. "Oh, you know, the normal. Boys, the latest hairstyles, etc." Ino let out a cold chuckle herself. "I would love to." Sakura looked happy to have her friend back. "If I was a civilian." Ino finished. Sakura looked startled. "What?" "Sakura-san. We are kunoichi now. We have no time to worry about the petty things in life, such as boys or other materialistic things. We are now trained to be killers in order to uphold our country's honor. Now, let's compare me and you, shall we, Sakura-san?" Sakura nodded dumbly. She was too much in shock to comprehend much. "Sakura-san, let's start with the clothes. Look at me and look at you. What do you see?" You're wearing dark colors, like navy blue and black, like Naruto. And I'm wearing pink." Sakura looked crestfallen. Her once friend had ditched the purple attire to a standard chunin attire without the jacket. "Exactly. I am wearing clothes that will help me blend easily in the background. You stand out like a sore thumb. Now our hair. Remember how I used to have waist-length hair?" Sakura nodded. "Well, I cut it off." Sakura looked horrified. It was tied up in a tight bun, so Sakura couldn't see it before, but just now Ino had let it down so that it was only barely past her shoulders. "But Ino, you loved that hair. How could you cut it off?" Ino gave her a look. "Because long hair is a hassle. Name one kunoichi you know that fights with their hair down." "None. Except you. Furthermore, I could smell you as you walked in the room. I thought you were a civilian till I saw your face. No self-respecting kunoichi wears perfume or uses scented soaps. It can reveal your identity to your enemy, leading to your death. Moving on, you are too skinny. Eating is the right thing to do, not starving yourself to death." "But Ino," Sakura protested. "I want to look and smell good. I won't stay in shape unless I don't eat. You know that." "Sakura, if you train regularly then it won't matter what you eat. How do you think Naruto eats all that food and never gains a pound? I eat quite a bit myself. Starving myself is stupid and it will only harm you in the long run." Ino's mouth twisted upward in a cruel smile. "But of course you don't train, do you? No wonder you are so weak. Naruto and Shikamaru have to pick up all the slack where you let it go. I looked at the mission reports with Dad. You do no work and still get paid. How in hell's name is that fair to Naru and Shika? Those two are some of my oldest friends. I will not let you slander their team's name." Sakura felt the rage coming off of Ino and cowered. She tried to put up a tough front. "Naruto and Shikamaru. That's all I hear these days. Have you heard about the Naruto and Shikamaru? Those two boys are the future of Konoha. They are bringing good fortune to the Nara clan. If either becomes Hokage, I will follow them to the ends of the earth." "Why? It's always about them. No one seems to give a damn about me." Sakura shouted, on the verge of tears. Ino grew very quiet. "Has it ever occurred to you that they did something to earn the villagers' trust? I'm sure Naru or Shika has told you, respect is earned, not given. They are not who they seem to be, remember that. Those two boys are the future of Konoha, and so are we. I am a kunoichi and I will stand to protect my village even if I die." So stop acting like a spoiled brat and get your act together. People will start to respect you if you actually do any work. Sakura looked crestfallen. No one respects me? She asked in a small voice. Ino's tone softened. I'm sorry Sakura, but this is the truth. There is a reason that Naru and Shika are trusted. They go above and beyond. That's the reason why they are respected. That family, the Nara family, is extremely connected. Naruto and Shikamaru are related to many important people in this village. But that's not why Shika and Naru have a great rep. Family can only get you so far. Look at Uchiha Sasuke. Just because he is the last Uchiha he thinks he can do anything. He hasn't even awakened the Sharingan yet, for crying out loud. Only then will he be useful to the village. Naru and Shika have been holding out on the world a lot. They have many secrets, the pair of them. If they think that they can trust you, they will tell you. Otherwise, Naruto and Shikamaru keep to themselves and their friends. Look Sakura, the reason why I am telling you this is because do you know how vulnerable an untrained Kunoichi is? No. Sakura was quite miffed about what Ino said about Sasuke. A Kunoichi has a 1 in 2 chance of being raped or assaulted during a mission. Ino stated grimly. Sakura gasped. She had never known that. Her head dropped down. This was not a subject that academy teachers willingly discussed with students after all. After some time, she looked back at Ino. Ino, thanks. You've given me a lot to think about. I'm going home now. I'll see you around. Sakura left the store hurriedly, so no one would see her tears. Ino stared at her former friend's retreating figure. Sadly Sakura, I'm not sure if you will take what I said seriously. Flashback high. Sakura stared out the window of her house. It was raining heavily, as if matching her desolate mood. The talk with Ino that she had 3 days ago hadn't left her mind. Was she really useless? Now that she thought about it, everything that had been said about her was true. On their first mission as a team, which was to clean the Inyazuka kennels, she refused to lead the dogs out of the kennel because they were too dirty for her liking. She let her teammates do the work and took some credit for herself. She really was a bitch, wasn't she? Her own teammates disliked her and only put up with her at the insistence of their sensei. They were indifferent at most. Something had to change and fast, otherwise Team 7 would fail miserably. The next day Team 7 stood in the Hokage's office waiting patiently for their next mission. Iruka and some other Chunins were reviewing missions suitable for Genin teams. Okage-sama, it appears that we are all out of missions for the day. Team 7 has a day off. Iruka stated. Is that so? Very well then. Team 7, report back tomorrow at the same time to receive another mission. Is that clear? A shout of "Hi" was heard from the 4 members. Naru-chan, Shika-chan, Shikaku wants to talk to the both of you concerning upcoming clan events. Please go to him right now. Hiruzen said. Hi, Jiji. Shikamaru said casually. Naruto gave a lazy eye smile and both left in a swirl of wind. What is that now, 4 shushins that they have? Hiruzen asked Kakashi. No. They have one more which they call a dynamic shushin, where they come in together. Now that one is very cool. Perhaps one day they will show it to you. Kakashi replied. He too shushined away, eager to spend the day with Anko. Hiruzen peered at the remaining member of Team 7 under the brim of her hat. Perhaps it was unfair placing her with 2 boys who could qualify for Chunin rank if they tried. Haruno-san, it's best if you get going as well. Tomorrow will likely be a lot of grueling missions. Hi, Hokage-sama. She quickly marched out of the room. Sakura noticed the different tones that the Sandaime used while talking to the boys compared to her. It seemed as though the Hokage had known Naruto and Shikamaru for ages. How was it that the 2 supposed dobes of the academy knew all these high-ranking people? Even her own sensei knew how many different types of freaking shushin they had. Arg. It was so confusing. But now it was time for her favorite game, Sasuke hunting. The words that Ino had spoken to her and the thoughts that she had herself had evaporated. 20 minutes later a high-pitched girly scream was heard from the local onsen, hot spring, when Sasuke realized it was mixed bathing day and Sakura was trying to cop a feel right next to him. Ami was laughing from her throne in heaven. The raven-haired boy would play a great role in the grand scheme of things. She didn't know if it would be good or bad yet. She would call on her daughter Fate for that. But as long as he had that duck butt hairstyle, the boy's future would be very, very bleak. Sarutobi Hiruzen sat at his desk, savoring the free time that he had by reading his pupil's best-selling novels. His free, nosebleed time was interrupted by a tapping on his window. A messenger hawk was perched on the windowsill, trying to claw its way in. Wearily, he opened the window and untied the message that was tied to the leg of the hawk. That C-rank mission that you sent us on was not a C-rank at all. We were attacked by the demon brothers Gozu and Mezu. If they are around, that means many more high-ranking nin will be here as well. Please send us backup ASAP. We are about an hour out of Konoha headed to Wave Country. If backup gets here within half an hour, everything should be okay. Asuma. Sarutobi sighed. He had sent his son's team on a C-rank mission just hours previously because he thought the team was ready. Now it was at least an A-rank mission. This was all so troublesome. I've been spending time with the Nara clan for far too long. They are rubbing off on me, the Sandaime thought with a sweat drop. So much for his porn reading afternoon. He snapped his fingers and an Anbu with a boar mask appeared. Bring me Hada Kakashi, Nara Naruto, and Nara Shikamaru now. Hi. Shikamaru and Naruto were seated in their clan's dojo in front of Yoshino and Shikaku. Now boys, you know that the reason that the Sandaime told you that we needed to speak to you was fake, right? Hi. Both boys said monotonously. Do you know the real reason why you are here? Yoshino inquired. Yes, we will be learning the next part of our bloodline, the part after Kage Main and Kage Nui. Shikamaru said. Very good. Now listen, our bloodline controls shadows. This is in a figurative and literal sense. For example, did you know that Naruto, your dad's mother could control the shadows of human emotions? Two pairs of eyes widened at this. What? But that's impossible. Grandmother wasn't even a full Nara. She was only half. Naruto, your grandmother was my dad's relative. Marriages in those days were very direct and after my mom died, her cousin, your grandmother married dad. I was only a year old at the time. Shortly afterward, your dad was born. Imagine the surprise of the Nara clan elders when a blonde chibi was running all over the house naked every day. You and Shikamaru both are descendant from the main Nara branch. This technique is very hard to master and Yoshino is better at it than myself. So we really can control the shadows of human emotions? Naruto asked incredulously. Precisely, in essence, you are controlling the human mind with it. What is it called? Shikamaru asked. It has many names. Yoshino answered. But the most fitting one is Naibu Kage Ketsum HM no Jutsu. Inner shadow binding technique. I've heard of that technique. Once mastered, the user virtually can control someone by their emotions. They can play at your worst fears or greatest joys. You and Shika have to master it alright. But isn't that psychological warfare? No, because this is all non-verbal. Interesting. Shika and I will ask you for some help with this since you seem familiar with the technique. This way you can get some freedom and we can get the aid we need. Is that okay with you? Not a problem, by the way, you have a guest coming soon. Bachan, we would ask you to demonstrate, but a visitor is going to show up, Nashika. Suda. Anbu, by the feel of his chakra suppression skills. As if on cue, the boar mask Anbu appeared. No puff of smoke, no nothing. He just fell from the sky. Nara Shikamaru, Nara Naruto. Sandaime Sama has asked you to pack for a mission and report to the northern gates in 15 minutes. Hada Kakashi will meet you there. Arigato Tenzo-san. Naruto said. The man named Tenzo sighed. Naruto, how many times do I have to tell you not to call me that? Did you say something? Naruto asked. Damn Kakashi clone. Tenzo left the room to the sound of the four Naras laughing at his poor predicament. Hada Kakashi was not a happy man. He had been very rudely disturbed from his time with Anko and was more pissy than a woman in that time of month. He waited impatiently for his two wayward cousins to arrive so they could get this mission over with. Anko and him needed their alone time. His ire only grew as he saw his third student, Haruno Sakura, approach him. Good morning, sensei. Morning, Sakura. Kakashi replied gruffly. Lovely day, isn't it? Yes it is. One could be spending it with those who he loves but no, something just has to come up. Sakura sweat dropped at her sensei's current plight. Yo, Kaka and Kakashi sensei. Naruto quickly corrected himself as he arrived at the northern gate with Shikamaru. Naruto, Shikamaru ready to head out. Kakashi was answered by two nodding heads. Sakura was confused. Wasn't it their day off? Where were they going? No, sensei, where are the three of you going? We have a mission to go on. Sandaime Sama's orders. We might not be back for several days. Why wasn't I informed about it? We are a team after all. The three cousins looked at each other uneasily. Haruno-san, this mission is a little beyond your experience level. It is only for the three of us. Sandaime's orders. Kakashi stated shakily. As much as she was useless, she was still a teammate and didn't deserve to be left in the dark. Oh okay then. Good luck I guess. Sakura turned on her heel and sprinted away. We should probably explain everything to her when we get back, shouldn't we? Shikamaru asked. Yes we should. Naruto replied. But now we have to be going. Team 10 is waiting for us. Head out. Kakashi ordered. Hi. And the three of them disappeared into the forest. Unknown to them, Sakura hid in a nearby alley, listening to what they had to say. What more could they possibly explain to her? It was time to have a talk with the Sandaime. Kakashi and the boys arrived at Team 10's location in a little over half an hour. Asuma was casually leaned against a tree. Ino and Chaoji sat on the ground. Shino sat slightly farther away from them, talking with his Kakachu beetles. The client stood at a distance from all of them, seemingly zoned out. Suddenly, Shino spoke up, Asuma-sensei, we have company. Team 10 tensed, waiting for a sudden attack. A voice was heard nearby, making them all jump. Mina. We were sent here as backup for you, you know. It's not a good idea to attack us. Kakashi jumped out of the forest surrounding Team 10 and gave them his customary two-finger salute. Yo. Shikamaru and Naruto said, appearing out of the forest as well. Naru, Shika. Ino exclaimed with delight. She hadn't seen her friends for a long time and was extremely happy for them to be on this mission as well. Chaoji was grinning ear to ear. Shino was silently wondering why the Dobes were sent as backup. Where's Sakura? Chaoji asked. The three cousins looked at each other. Listen guys, this mission has been upgraded to an A rank mission. Gigi decided that Sakura wasn't ready for it. No offense to her, but she is nothing more than a civilian with her chakra unlocked. Naruto told them. Pardon me Naruto-san, but who is your Gigi who decided that Sakura was unfit for the mission? Shino asked, not meaning to be disrespectful. Naruto looked at Shino with a twinkle in his eye. Mine and Shikamaru's Gigi is the Hokage. Shino raised his eyebrows but said nothing and simple nodded. Kakashi turned to the client. I assume you are Tazuna-san, our client. The man nodded. We have agreed to take this mission rather than leave Wave Country to rot, and once Wave gets back on its feet, we expect the money for this mission in full. The man named Tazuna smiled a wide grin and nodded once more. This is a bad mission for 3 green genin to go on. I got Gozu and Mezu, but not doubt more will come. They've been hired by some man named Gato from the Gato shipping empire. Asuma commented. Hang on, 3 green genin. Naruto and Shikamaru are here too. Ino said. Yes well, they are not as green as you think them to be Ino. Kakashi told her sheepishly. The 3 genin stared at their dead last classmates in awe. Even though Chaoji and Ino knew what they were capable of, they did not know how good. Naruto and Shikamaru gave a nervous chuckle and rubbed the back of their heads. Ino and Chaoji laughed at their friend's embarrassed plight. Yep, no matter how strong they were still the same old Naru and Shika to them. Asuma broke everyone's thoughts. Alright then, let's set out. We have a long way ahead of us. Hi. Meanwhile, in Konoha Sakura had called a meeting with the Sandaime. She wanted to know exactly why she didn't go on that mission. They were a team, no matter their shortcomings, or hers. Sakura found herself sitting in front of the kindly old man who was known as the god of all shinobi. Sarutobi inwardly sighed. He knew why she was here. She must have seen Naruto and Shikamaru leaving with Kakashi. Sakura-san, may I ask why you requested to meet with me on such short notice? With no disrespect sir, you seem to let Naruto and Shikamaru come here whenever they want without anyone saying anything. What is so special about them that is not about me sir? We are just genin after all. Sarutobi knew she had a point. He couldn't just tell her that those two came here to help him on mission reports and such. Shikamaru and Naruto had told him that they would only show their strength little by little until they became Chunin. It would not be good to arouse suspicion amongst any opposing nations. Shikamaru and Naruto are different. I have known them since they were small and we are quite close, like a grandfather would be to his grandchildren. Forgive me if it seems that I am favoring them. Yes, Sandaime-sama, I believe you are favoring them. Sakura said feeling a bit put off that the Sandaime was so close to those two. Oh, how so? Well, I met Kakashi-sensei earlier today and him, Shikamaru and Naruto were departing on a mission. I asked why when it was our day off and they told me it was on your orders. Would you please tell me why they are going on a mission and I am not? She was becoming a little hysterical at the moment. The wizened old Hokage rubbed his temples. The pineapple boy, Ramen freak and porn lover could cause him so much trouble without even being her troublesome. Sakura, have your teammates explained anything to you? Sakura shook her head. But they did say that they would explain some things to me once they got back from the mission. We are teammates and therefore should not be keeping things from each other. Sakura, we are also shinobi and it is our job to deceive. Tell me, what were your first impressions of Naruto and Shikamaru? Sakura adopted her thinking pose. Well, Naruto was brash and obnoxious. He disgusted me. Shikamaru was lazy to a fault. Both showed absolutely no potential whatsoever. And now? Sakura hesitated. They seem changed I suppose. Naruto even looks different than before, taller and more mature. She almost added good looking, but then she would have to consider herself a traitor to her love Sasuke and Sasuke only movement. Shikamaru seems even more relaxed if that is possible. The two of them and Kakashi-sensei get along very well. I seem to think that sensei is very relaxed in their presence. Their skills have also improved. I'm starting to wonder if Kakashi is teaching them separately. I assure you, he is doing none of that. I am disappointed in them that they have not told you yet though. You are their teammate, no matter your differences. The truth is, Naruto and Shikamaru are not supposed to be genin. Sakura inwardly danced with joy. She knew that the two Dobes had no potential and were getting kicked off the team. They are supposed to be elite Chunins. Sarutobi finished. Sakura's entire world came crashing down. What? She screeched. The Sandaime winced as he delicately nursed his old ears. It is the truth, Sakura. On my orders, Naruto and Shikamaru have been hiding their relation to one another, their skills, and their potential ever since they entered the academy. You heard about how your teacher Mizuki died. You don't mean… Yes, Naruto purposely failed the exam in order to lure Mizuki out. Mizuki was planning to betray the village, so Naruto killed him. I suggested to Naruto that he and Shikamaru take on the rank of Chunin, however Naruto said that it meant his cousin being promoted would raise too many questions, as well as change team dynamics. You would be the odd one left out. So in a sense, they became genin for your sake. The mission they are on right now is very dangerous, and you would die should I have sent you out on the field. Sakura felt very small at the moment. She didn't know what to say. She was confused, angry, and slightly jealous. The Sandaime sighed. Look Sakura, you are one of my shinobi, and as your leader I must tell you something. Either get your act together or stop being a kunoichi. Before you say anything, ask yourself, have you trained outside of the academy? Sasuke's talking actually helped improve stealth, but she refrained from saying that. I know. She admitted feebly. Not even after Kakashi asked you to the day of your first team meeting exam? No sir. Training is not something I enjoy very much. Sarutobi analyzed the girl in front of him. No, respectably kunoichi didn't train. Very well then. I have no choice. Have no choice in what? Uruno Sakura, as of now you no longer are a part of Team 7. Based on all of the mission reports as well as eyewitness accounts from clients, you did none to minimal work, leaving everything to your teammates. You never once have taken an active part in training outside of team practices and you have only brought your team down. Forgive me for doing this to you. But you have brought this upon yourself. As of now, you will simply be a drifting genin, filling in the place of those teams who need an extra member. I know for a fact that Kakashi gave you Taijutsu scrolls and asked you to improve upon your skills using it. I also know that you have ignored that. From now on you will be doing mandatory training practices under the supervision of a Chunin. If in the next 2 months you do not show improvement, then I will be forced to take you off the shinobi squad. Am I clear? And that's when her world imploded. She was shell-shocked. She had no sensei, no teammates, and no friends. She didn't train, and her body was not used to the physical strain that shinobi missions demanded. It was then she understood just how much work her teammates did. They allowed her to do whatever she wanted, and she didn't have to face the repercussions, until now. Karma is a bitch. She felt the tears welling up in her eyes. Am I clear? Sakura looked up into the Sandaime's face. She recoiled when she saw him. The normally kind man's face was laden with revolt against her. He was disgusted against her. Ha. She managed to squeak out. Very well, you are dismissed now. She basically sprinted out of the room. This measure was a harsh one, but effective. Naruto and Shikamaru had the mission to scope out this village's true potential, and she did not make their list. Meanwhile, the two genin teams and the client had been walking relatively peacefully for an hour or so. Naruto and Shikamaru were on constant alert. With their primary element being wind, they were able to pick up small distortions in the airwaves. Kakashi noticed the irritated twitch of his cousins. Naruto, Shikamaru, is everything alright? Kakashi signed using subtle hand motions that Asuma also saw. Something is coming, we just can't sense it yet. Naruto signed back. Kakashi nodded to Asuma and quickly made a kage bunshin to scout the area in front of them. Suddenly, Shikamaru tensed. He flicked a kunai 38 degrees to his right. All the genin except for Naruto were confused at this. Shika, would you do that? Ino asked him. I thought I felt something in the forest. Naruto went to investigate and came back holding a dead rabbit whose fur was snow white. Wait, that means everybody down. Naruto, Shikamaru, Kakashi, and Asuma yelled at the same time. Shino and Chaoji grabbed Tazuna and Ino respectively and pulled them down to the hard ground. All of a sudden, a long butcher knife-like sword came hurtling above them. It was a sword that was feared and recognized throughout the elemental nations. Kubikiri Haucho lay embedded high in the trunk of a tree with a man who looked as frightening as the devil himself. Lamachi's Abusa took in the scene in front of him. He had been hired by Gato to kill the old bridge builder and was being paid a handsome amount of money for it. How hard could it be to assassinate one measly old man who had 5 Chibis and 2 Jonins protecting them? Just in case though, Haku was positioned in the nearby forest, waiting to launch a surprise attack. Hang on, recognized something about 2 of the Chibis. They looked very familiar. Zabuza took out his bingo book and flipped through it, looking at some of the newest entries. 2 people that looked exactly like those 2 Chibis showed up. Nara Shikamaru. Age 12. Affiliation. Konohagakure. Rank. Genin, as of October 28. Skill level. High B low A unnatural ability to control wind, very dangerous. He has the Nara bloodline. Weak in jutsu, strong to jutsu. Do not engage with just ninjutsu. Nara Shikamaru is wanted by Kumo for thwarting the attempt of a kidnapping on Hyuga Hanabi when he was 8. He and Nara Naruto other killed all 27 members of the assault squad 4 years ago from this year. Cousin to Nara Naruto, see next page. Capture alive and deliver to Reikage. Bounty? 500,000 Ryo. Impressive chibi he was. Zabuza was quite impressed. Now on to the next one. Nara, formerly Uzumaki, Naruto, affiliation. Konohagakure, rank. Genin, as of October 28, skill level. High beta mid-8 possesses the same abilities as Nara Shikamaru, including the affinity to wind and Nara bloodline. Additionally, can take on a feral appearance when accessing a strange red chakra that is volatile to the recipient of any jutsus created while using the red chakra. Nara Naruto is wanted in Iwa and Kumo. Kumo wants him and Nara Shikamaru for killing off all of the 27 members of the assault squad 4 years ago from this year. Iwa wants him because of his uncanny resemblance to the Yondaime Hokage, as well as because he killed 3 members from Iwa Anbu a year ago in an attack. He is known as the Nidaime Kiroi Senko. Capture alive and deliver to Reikage. Capture dead or alive and deliver to Tsuchikage. Bounty? 1 million Ryo. The two Naras together are called the Densetsuke's Kage no Kaidai. The Great Wind Shadow Brothers, together they have a high A-rank bounty of 5 million Ryo. Oh ho, another impressive chibi. But the name Uzumaki, that was a surprise. All the Uzumakis were said to have been wiped out in the 9-tailed attack on Konoha 12 years ago. Interesting. It would be a shame to kill them, but their bounties were too nice to ignore. Naruto and Shikamaru felt a disturbance in the wind and sensed a man who was staring down at them. He was poised to attack, but did not, so it was safe to say that he was assessing their abilities and so on. Come out Mamachi Zabuza. You gave yourself away when you threw the Kubikiri Haucho like that. Shikamaru yelled in a very un-Narish voice. This was the voice that Uchiha Sasuke might have when he was excited by an opponent. The remaining genin excluding Naruto looked on in fright as the man named as Mamachi Zabuza appeared in front of them. The man looked like a beast. His mouth was covered up with a white cloth that wrapped around the back of his head. His hair, spiking upwards, much like Kakashi's but as dark as the night. He wore a sleeveless vest with no shirt inside, going for the baddest look. The demon of the mist had met the demon of Konoha. Zabuza looked at the two 12-year-old boys and couldn't help but be impressed. Both had laid off the lazy persona that they had before and adopted an extremely serious demeanor. They were poised to fight and kill. The blonde, the Uzumaki, looked like the younger clone of the Yondaime Hokage, a man who Zabuza had admired thoroughly. The brunette was the son of the head of the Nara clan and the blonde's cousin. The boys had the same facial structure of the other man next to them, one Zabuza noticed as Haddock Kakashi, the copy nin. Next to Haddock stood the son of the Sandaime Hokage himself, Sarutobi Asuma, once guardian of the Fire Temple. Zabuza had hit the jackpot with his prey. The other 3 chibis were expendable. He didn't care if they lived or died. All he wanted was a good fight. Zabuza turned his head to Shikamaru and Naruto. Nara Naruto, Nara Shikamaru, nice to meet you in person. The 2 boys stiffened. How do you know our names? Naruto called to the ex-Kiri nin. What, you boys don't know? You're in the bingo books. If captured together you have a bounty of 5 million Ryo. All jaws dropped at this. What? Since when? What exactly have we done to have bounties over our heads? Shikamaru asked, heavily curious. Zabuza looked incredulous. They didn't even know that they were wanted men, kids. You killed 27 Kumo nin together 4 years ago, and the blonde killed 3 Iwa nin. Both countries want you dead. I believe that you 2 are the youngest ninjas in the book, you know. The cousins bowed their heads sheepishly. Aw shucks Abu-chan, thanks for that. Naruto grinned. Haku looked at Naruto with jealousy from her hiding place. She was never allowed to call her father anything but father. And this boy could call him Zabu-chan. No fair. Zabuza's sweat dropped. He may be a Nara, but that was definitely his Uzumaki side coming out. The genin and Tazuna were shocked. The 2 of them combined had killed 30 people, the majority when they were only 8 years old. Kakashi took up a protective stance covering his cousins. Mamachi Zabuza, if you are here to kill our client, please reconsider, we will kill you. Sharingan no Kakashi. Go fuck yourself in a hole, man. You are not important, all I have to do is kill the old man and all of us can leave. Kakashi was more than a bit miffed that the nuke nin had blown him off so easily. We can't let you do that, I'm afraid. Oh really? Well, sorry to disappoint you, but no one can stop me. You better hope that the old man dies, Kakashi, or the last thing you will be hearing are your own screams as you die. Everything that Zabuza had said was laced with killing intent as big as Kakashi's or Asuma's. It was so much that the cage bunshin that Kakashi had sent out earlier nearly soiled itself before dispelling. Even Haku had a hard time breathing, though she was used to it. The 3 green genin and Tazuna welcomed the earth below their feet openly as they fell, quivering in fear. Naruto and Shikamaru were shaking, but not that much. Kakashi turned around to face his charges. Don't worry guys, I'll never let any of my nakama die. Those who don't follow the rules are trash, but those who abandon their friends are worse than trash. He finished with his famous eye smile. That slightly eased the tension in the air. At least the four on the ground were able to stand up. PCH pathetic really, Konoha genins can't even handle killer intent, well, except for two it seems. Zabuza said pointing at Naruto and Shikamaru. Well, we've had practice. Shikamaru replied, shivering as he thought of what Anko had done to him after he accidentally ate her dango stick. It was much worse than this. Yeah, our future cousin-in-law, Mitarashi Anko, she's like the female version of you. When you separate her from her dango, bad things happen, and we pay the ultimate price. Naruto said as he shot a sly glance at Kakashi who was blushing madly. Zabuza scoffed. Mitarashi Anko's dango obsession was not a new fact in the ninja world. He didn't doubt their words one bit. But now playtime was over. He needed to kill a certain man to feed himself and Haku, his daughter. Then, he would kill the man who wanted him to kill the other man because the 4-foot midget got on his nerves. Naruto tensed. The wind had changed direction. He looked over at Shikamaru and saw that he had goosebumps all over his arms, meaning that he felt it as well. Zabuza was getting serious. However, it did strike him as odd that the wind had brought a delicately feminine scent with it as well. It wasn't Ino, so then who? Quickly, Zabuza made a few hand seals. Ninpo. Kurigakur no Jutsu. Hidden mist technique. A thick fog covered a radius of 100 feet, making it impossible to see. Zabuza's dismembered and ethereal voice echoed around them. Kakashi, your Sharingan is useless here. The only thing that can see through this fog is the Byakugan, and you have no Hyugas on your little team. Inwardly, Kakashi cursed. He knew Zabuza was right. Asuma, take your genin and Tazuna to safety, we've got this covered. Asuma nodded, not that Kakashi could see anyway. Using his senses, he found his young charges and shushened them all away to safety along with Tazuna. Once they were out of harm's way, Ino asked, Sensei, Naru and Shika are fighting an S-rank nin. Is this really okay? We might not see them again. There was fright in her voice as she was worried about her surrogate brothers. Asuma chuckled. People underestimate those two too much. Zabuza said himself that Naru and Shika are A-rank nins. They will be fine. And Kakashi's with them as well, which means that they have 2 A-rank nin and 1 S-ranked fighting against an S-rank nin. Now, Tazuna-san, we must go to your house to fortify it. You are in very grave danger, and I am in no mood for any more hanky-panky. From now on you will tell us the truth or we will leave. Is that understood? Azuna looked down shamefacedly. Hi and Gomen for putting your lives in danger. Asuma nodded in response. Ataudos, Kakashi, stay safe. Zabuza cursed. The Hokage's son had shushened too quickly for him to catch the old man. He reluctantly let the jutsu go and found himself in front of 3 very angry-looking ninjas. Listen, I don't have to be here as long as the target isn't. So let's call it a day and go home shall we? Haku wanted to yell at her father for being an idiot. He was the one who loved the fight, so why give up now? I don't think so, Zabuza. It's troublesome, but you tried to kill our client, so we must return the favor. Naruto reasoned. Prepare yourself. Naruto charged. Wait, Naruto. Kakashi cried as he tried to pull Naruto back, but to no avail. Shikamaru was silent, he knew that Naruto charged to assess Zabuza's skill, and he told Kakashi this. Both decided to wait until Naruto needed significant help. Suiton. Suryudan. A raging dragon made out of the water from the nearby lake charged at Zabuza who nimbly sidestepped it. Suiton. Teppadama. The simple C-rank offensive jutsu strength was increased tenfold as Zabuza used it. Naruto quickly dodged the water bullet and found himself high in the treetops, free from Zabuza's reach. Naruto needed a plan, and a fast one. Zabuza fought primarily using water-based ninjutsu. Fire would be useless and wind would be strong. Earth was a viable option, but none of the 3 cousins were adept at earth-based attacks. So wind it was. The problem with wind was that Zabuza simply avoided them because Naruto's attacks were predictable. He needed to have the element of surprise like the wind. Hit, I know what you're thinking, and I like it. Listen, I can set up that link that you like to use. The one that only works with family. This link was devised by the Kyuubi so that any blood relation of Naruto's would be able to communicate with him using only the mind, like telepathy. Ayunai, that's a great idea. I need to connect with Kakanai and Shika. Alright kid, also, don't use my power if you can avoid it. It will attract unnecessary attention, trust me. I understand Kyuunai, please do it now. Hi Naru, prepare yourself. Naruto felt the tendrils of his conscience pushing out like shadows, never stopping till they reached their destination. Shikamaru and Kakashi felt it as it arrived. The familiar feeling of Naruto's mind touching their own. Naruto appeared in a swirl of leaves, Kakashi and Shikamaru a little ways back. Zabuza just decided to wait and see what was going to do. Eyes, listen. I have a plan. Go on Naru, what is it? We need to attack from different directions, ambushing him and taking him down from his blind spot, which is located to his left. I noticed this when he dodged my first attack. He always looks to the left more than the right, which means that the left is weak for him. So what do you propose we do, cousin? Collaboration jutsus. Kakanai, with your fire and our wind, we can decimate him easily. Sounds good. Any Kaiten jutsu will do, right? Hi, but Kaiten. Gakakyu no jutsu would be preferred. Shikamaru will make a Futon. Renkiden, and I will attack him with Chidori. Meanwhile, Zabuza and Haku were staring at the trio as if they were complete idiots. Listen guys, I know that you're trying to kill me, but to discuss the plan where I can hear it loud and clear is a bit ridiculous. Naruto's eyes widened. It was impossible, no, it was beyond impossible, unless Shikamaru and Kakashi were shocked. That link never failed. It was not supposed to work on non-family members. And their eyes widened at the implications as well. What the hell? Haku smiled at the stupid looks on her opponent's face. Naruto was trying to keep a cool demeanor in place. Zabuza, what are you talking about? I never moved my lips. Zabuza smirked. Are you trying to tell me that your plan to attack me using collaboration Kaiten and Futon jutsus was all in my head? Naruto sank to his knees as reality set in. Fuck, he was related to the demon of the mist, Mamachi Zabuza, their number one enemy for the time being. Zabuza looked at the young boy in front of him, then to Kakashi and Shikamaru. Their mouths were open, looking on incredulously, like they knew something that he didn't. Naruto quickly stood up and regained his composure. Zabuza, I did say that, but not out loud. It was in my head. There is a special power that I, and only I can use that allows my mind to find and speak to family those related by blood to me through our minds. The only way that you could have heard what we were saying is if you are related to us. Zabuza processed this information and let it slowly sink in. Well shit, he was related to the Yondaime Hokage Chibi, and he didn't even know how. Although it was true that the blonde's name used to be Uzumaki, it was too far of a stretch. So who was this kid to him? Haku stared at the blonde-haired boy. Was he really family? Chibi, that's impossible, I never had any family except for my daughter and sister. However, my sister was killed 20 years ago in the bloodline raids in Kiri when she was visiting me from our home village. Kakashi gasped. No, it wasn't true. It couldn't have been. Uzumaki Kushina Mamachi Zabuza. Both were well versed in water-based jutsus, both had the same brash demeanor, and that face it could have been a manly version of his aunt. What was the connection between the two? Tell me Zabuza, does the name Uzumaki Kushina mean anything to you? Kakashi asked apprehensively. Shikamaru and Naruto looked at their cousin incredulously for a moment before realizing what he meant. If Zabuza was related to Naruto, it would only be from the Uzumaki side. Zabuza looked as though he had been electrocuted thousands of times by Rikiri. How the hell do you know the name of my sister? He roared. Naruto trembled. This man know this demon was his uncle. The man who murdered his entire genin class was in Uzumaki. He was the cousin to Tsunade. Him. Kid, calm down. You are very close to accessing some of my power, something that is not what is in your best interest. This man does smell like you and Kushina. When I was inside of her, I sensed her longing for the one known as Zabuza, and I think he is the one. Whenever she used to let me out so I could be with Hitomi, she used to tell me stories about her old family. So please, for your mother's sake, trust the man. Naruto didn't answer his demonic brother. Kakashi looked at Naruto in concern. Then he spoke. Uzumaki Kushina was the wife of Namikaze Minato, more commonly known as the Yondaime Hokage. She also happens to be mine and Shikamaru's aunt. The Yondaime Hokage was our paternal uncle. And Naruto here is her son. Haku gasped and clutched her heart at the implications. She had a family. She was the niece of the Yondaime Hokage. Maybe, just maybe she would finally have a home. Zabuza just stared. No. It wasn't true. Kushina had died in the raids, right? Had he not looked hard enough? Had he abandoned the Uzumaki name for nothing? Would Tsunade ever forgive him? He was just 8 when this had happened. Haku, you can come out now. He called his daughter out. She had always asked him if she had other family. He had always answered no. It seems as though he was gravely mistaken. Kakashi, Shikamaru and Naruto stared at the figure who had appeared before them. She was the kid's age, with long ebony tresses that fell to her waist. Her face was soft and angel-like. Her heart-shaped face brought a fierce blush to Shikamaru's face. My name is Uzumaki Zabuza, son of the second Uzukage Uzumaki Hideki and my mother, Uzumaki Natter. Zabuza said. My name is Uzumaki Haku, daughter to Uzumaki Zabuza. Haku is her name, it's pretty. Shikamaru thought. Naruto understood that the fighting would now be stopped. His uncle wanted to talk, and talk they would. About everything. My name is Nara Naruto, son of the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Nara Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. These are my cousins, Hada Kakashi and Nara Shikamaru. Apparently, we are your nephews. What the hell, I'm the head of Kakashi's uncle. What has this world come to? They are my family though, and I need one hell of an explanation from them all. Perhaps it would be nice to live somewhere again. Yes, for Haku's sake as well as my own, I need to embrace my family. Family, the word brought a fuzzy feeling to his stomach, something that had not been there since the day Haku was born. Listen Naruto, I don't know exactly how to say this, but I know. Naruto replied. You don't want to kill Tazuna-san anymore. I understand. I also realize that the both of you need a stable home. This is something we can provide for you. Even if you once were our enemy, I can sense that you are confused about some things. Listen, this is all ridiculously fast, but come to Konoha with us. All eyes widened at the implications. Naruto continued. You need a family, we can give you that. The both of you would be a tremendous asset to Konoha. Haku, I don't know your skills, but if you were taught by Zabuji-san, then you must be the best. Haku blushed slightly at the praise. Zabuza was amazed how accepting the kid was, he had even called him Oji-san. You will have the protection of the Senju, Nara, Haddock, and Namikaze clan. Essentially, the founding clans of Konoha will give you their support. Plus, now that you will be revealed as an Uzumaki, you will become clan head and take the Uzumaki seat that I have held. You should know that I hold the current seat of the Namikaze in my great-uncle Jiraiya's stead. He also happens to be the husband of Tsunade-bachan. Don't worry about anything else. Zabuza and Haku were speechless. Shikamaru decided that it was he spoke as well. Listen, no one is forcing you to do anything. It's just that Naruto and I, we are cousins, no we are brothers. You might not be directly related to me, but any family member of Naruto's is by default mine and Kakanai's as well. We, the three of us can't bear the thought of unknown family not being protected, even if you can protect yourself. For all you knew, if this meeting never happened, Kakanai could have stuck a Chidori in Haku's chest. Would you want that? Uzumaki Zabuza, from this day forth you are our uncle, with Haku being our cousin. Drop the name Mamachi and rebuild the Uzumaki clan to its formal glory. This I beseech to you, a nephew asking his uncle. Haku had tears running down her face. Odo-san, please. I need a family. This is ours, please don't say no. Haku looked up at him with her puppy dog eyes. It seemed even the most terrible demon was human when it came to his daughter. The truth was, he was never going to disagree to their idea. He needed this as much as she did. Answer me one question. She's dead. Naruto said before he could ask. Ah, I see. Well then my nephews, we have much to talk about. I fear I have missed much in the last 20 years. Perhaps you can fill me in on 12 of them. Naruto, Haku, and Shikamaru grinned. Family always came first, no matter what. Kakashi sighed. He had another uncle who happened to be a S-rank nin. He also had a kawaii cousin who Anko would no doubt glump the second she saw her. But they were family, and family loved each other. Oji-san. We should get back to the others at Tazuna's house or they might get worried. We should explain everything to them and then we will find Gato and kill him. Kakashi said. Surprisingly, it didn't feel too weird to call the man Oji-san. They really were a family. Zabuza chuckled. Deal, but I get to kill that man. I was planning on it anyway, after I saw the state of the country. Don't worry, you'll see. And they did indeed. As they entered Wave Country, they civilians had looks of fear on their faces. It was as if they were expecting the family to attack them at any moment. Instead of terrorizing the civilians anymore, they simply jumped from roof to roof, looking at the ruins of a once prosperous country. Markets were poorly stocked. A few small fish and shriveled vegetables. The only thing of relative abundance was rice. Lots and lots of rice. Naruto made a silent vow to make the people who did this to the country pay. And it would hurt bad. The party of 5 stopped at an open clearing. They didn't know where Tazuna's house was located. Kakashi decided that the simplest way to find the others was a summoning jutsu. Guchius no Jutsu. A puff of smoke revealed a small pug with a blue guy wrapped around it and a Konoha headband strapped to its head. Yo, Kakashi, Naru, Shika. It's been a while. Pakin noticed that the other two in the group smelled like Naruto. Akin, can you get us Asuma's scent? We have to find him now. Kakashi said. No problem pup, follow me. Within 5 minutes the group arrived at a modest 2-story house. Wonderful smells were emanating from the house. A pounding of feet could be heard as the family neared the door. It was thrown open by a frantic Ino who immediately glumped Naruto and Shikamaru. You idiots. You had us so worried. What happened? Are you alright? Are you hurt? Shikamaru and Naruto sweat dropped at their sister's frantic questioning. Can we at least come in please? Naruto asked with a twinkle in his eye. Ino blushed and muttered something about ungrateful bastards under her breath. Asuma looked wary when he saw Zabuza and an unknown Kunoichi make their way into the cramped kitchen. Tazuna was frozen in place as he thought that the ninja had decided to turn against him and kill all of them. Seeing Zabuza shift uncomfortably under the gaze of the people, Kakashi decided to speak up. There is something we all have to tell you. Zabuza will be returning home with us after the mission is over. What? Now wait, hear us out. There is a very good reason for this. You see, Zabuza is kind of my uncle and Shikamaru's and especially Naruto's. Kakashi said with a sheepish grin as he rubbed the back of his head. What? TPC. What? The two-story house nearly shook from the roar of sound. Geez, you guys are so troublesome. His name is Uzumaki Zabuza, my mother's brother. So he is my uncle. Naruto said lazily. Shino looked awfully confused. I'm sorry Naruto-san, how does that make him Kakashi-sensei's uncle as well? Ah, Shino-san, I forgot you didn't know. Kakanai's father, Hadexakumo, was Shikamaru and my father's cousin. Since all three were like brothers, we three are cousins. Shino was extremely good at hiding his shock. But since you are family, why are you on the same team? He asked. Shikamaru answered his question. To this, we do not know the answer. Naruto and I were very surprised when the teams were announced. We haven't talked to the Hokage on this subject, but he must have had a good reason, so we'll let it go. Shino nodded and accepted this answer. So Hada Kakashi was related to these two dopes. Shino knew something was wrong. In school, Naruto and Shikamaru had been at the bottom of the class, barely passing. And now, they were A-rank nins in the bingo book. They had killed foreign nins before actually becoming shinobi. He would have to ask Asuma-sensei about the enigma known as the Narukaiadai. If it was one thing that Shino hated, it was an unsolvable mystery. Zabuza looked at Tazuna. Oi, old man, sorry for trying to kill you. It's just that my daughter and I need to survive somehow, and this is one of the only ways. If it makes you feel any better, I was going to kill Gato after I received my pay, by killing you. He finished with a huge smile on his face, though it couldn't be seen through the wrappings covering it. Azuna's sweat dropped. For some reason I don't feel very comforted by that fact, please excuse my idiot of a father. He has no tact when it comes to dealing with such sensitive manners. Haku spoke for the first time since entering the house. All eyes turned to her and she blushed under the gaze. Ino noticed the way Shikamaru looked at the girl. He was in a daze. Ino's face developed a sly grin. She knew exactly what she was doing when they all returned to Konoha. She didn't run after her crushes anymore, she helped other people develop them. Dad isn't very good with all this. She gestured to the people in the room. Zabuza blushed yes, the demon of the mist blushed. Of course no one except Kakashi could see because of those damn bandages covering his face. They were masked twins, it seemed so they understood the hidden emotions they kept. It was the beginning of a long beautiful friendship. Yes, well. I haven't had much practice, have I? Zabuza retorted. Zabuza Oji-san, could you perhaps tell me about my mother? Naruto asked cautiously. He had never met either mother or father, and the stories he was told were not enough. He wanted to hear them from someone who really knew her younger brother. Zabuza looked at the boy and sighed. He reminded him so much of Kushina, his older sister. He had only known her for 8 years, but they were the best 8 years of his life. Although he looked like the Yondaime, his personality was split between that of Inara and Uzumaki. From what he had seen of the Uzumaki side, he was a mini Kushi-chan clone. Zabuza wouldn't be surprised if under that calm facade, things like Databeo occasionally came out. Naruto, it's late right now. I want to talk as much as you do. But let's talk tomorrow. All 5 of us. Is that acceptable? Naruto nodded. His uncle was right. It was very late at the moment. The sun had gone down a long time ago. Haku and I will make camp outside. The house is cramped as it is. We don't want to intrude. Zabuza said. He knew that others will be uncomfortable in his presence. The others nodded in assent. The two of them silently trooped out the door. Naru, you have a messed up family. Chaoji commented. You think? Was his reply. Azuna broke the uncomfortable silence that ensued. Well, this is my daughter Tsunami and my grandson Inari. He said, gesturing to the pretty young lady and the small boy in the room as well. The lady named Tsunami waved while the boy stared at them indifferently. Inari and Naruto had a staring contest, a battle between wills. It only lasted about 3 seconds before Inari quailed under Naruto's gaze. It was too late for dinner, even though they had not eaten. Tsunami had one extra room. Ino would bunk with Tsunami while the men and boys would take the room. Having 6 guys in one room was not a prospect that they would like to deal with, but they were ninja, so they would adjust. At night, Naruto lay awake thinking of all the events that had taken place today. He had gained an S-ranked missing nin and his daughter as an uncle and cousin. The weird part was it didn't feel weird at all. It felt right. They were family, a very, very dysfunctional one, but family nonetheless. It would be the first time that he would be meeting a full Uzumaki as well. Tsunade didn't count. From what he knew, the second Uzukage was his grandfather, his mother and his uncle's father. The Shodaime Hokage's wife Uzumaki Mido was the sister to the Nidaime Uzukage. What he didn't know was that the Uzumaki clan had been wiped out during a civil war some 30 or so years ago. In it, the Uzukage was killed. Uzumaki Natter, Kushina and Zabuza fled to Kurigakure where eventually, Natter passed away a year later from extreme mental trauma. At that time, Kushina was 8 and Zabuza was 4. Some 4 years later, Kiri had begun its purge of bloodlines in which Kushina was swept away. She was extremely skilled in Fuin Jutsu and could have been considered the same level as Jiraiya was. She also had special chakras that could not be considered a bloodline, but was like the Senju power of controlling the tail beasts. For this reason, Kiri tried to kill her. In reality, she had been found by Konoha ninjas in a forest. The Konoha ninjas had taken her to the Hokage Saratobi Hiruzen who, upon hearing the name Uzumaki, called Tsunade over immediately. Through blood tests and Kushina's testimony as well as Tsunade's tearful recognition of her cousin, it was concluded that Uzumaki Kushina was indeed the eldest child of the Nidaime Uzukage. She was the grandniece of the first Hokage, making her Tsunade and Nawaki's cousin. Originally, Tsunade was chosen to house the Kyuubi when it was confirmed that Mito was slowly dying. However, the Uzumaki's longevity would be better than the Senju's ability to control them. Kyuubi was quite tame at this point, so the Senju ability was useless. Kushina's arrival was perfect. Kyuubi took an immediate liking to Kushina, more so than he did to Tsunade. Days after Mito's death, Kyuubi very willingly was sealed into Kushina. She became the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Kushina had just reached her 12th birthday at this time. She bypassed the academy and joined the team of Namikaze Minato and Aburam Shibe. Minato and her had met once at a family party in which Kushina was revealed to be the cousin of Tsunade Senju, Minato's uncle's wife. Kushina and Shibe had a very strange relationship. They were as close as brother and sister, yet barely talked. When asked by Minato how this was possible, they said that they had an understanding of each other. Minato and Kushina originally disliked each other. Kushina thought that Minato was a pansy and he thought she looked like a tomato with her chubby face and vibrant red hair. But that red hair was the thread that tied them together till the end. Kushina had tried to find her brother many times, but never could. She had heard stories of the demon of the mist who had wiped out his entire genin class. But his name was Mamachi Zabuza, not Uzumaki. The name Zabuza was very popular in that day. Mamachi Zabuza could never be Uzumaki Zabuza. It was unforgivable for a full-blooded Uzumaki male to drop his surname. That person would have been a disgrace to the family. She thought that Zabuza would never do something like that, but he did. Of course Naruto knew none of this. But he would tomorrow. That night, Naruto did not move a muscle. Shikamaru stared at his cousin discreetly throughout the night. Naruto was restless. Usually, while Naruto would sleep in awkward positions much like Shikamaru did. He would toss and turn in the night, all while sleeping soundly. So when he did not move at all, it meant something. Naruto was anxious. Very, very anxious. For 5 people, morning could not come sooner. For the first time in a long time, Zabuza woke up and he felt happy. He felt ecstatic. He had a real family, not just his daughter. Haku was the light of his life. Her mother had been the only woman had ever truly loved from the bottom of his heart. He was never one to admit his feelings, and he couldn't tell her until she was killed 11 years ago in the bloodline raids, just 9 months after Haku had been born. The day was the day he would start to live again. It was the day he would grow a heart once more. Naruto woke to the sound of chirping birds and sunlight pouring into the cramped room. He was feeling a bit apprehensive about the whole ordeal, but enthusiastic as well. He wanted to see what this day would turn out to be. Shikamaru was awake long before anyone else was. Shikamaru truly cared for Naruto, and so he wanted the best for his cousin. He knew that Naruto would be accepting of his uncle and cousin, no matter what. It would be difficult, but they would make it work. In the 10 or so hours that Shikamaru knew Zabuza, he knew that he had changed. Zabuza was a ruthless killer, not a family man. Or so everyone thought. Even the strongest man had a weakness, and Zabuza's was family. Shikamaru guessed that Zabuza only had a rough exterior because if he showed his true feelings, people would try to exploit that. But if Konoha could give them a home, perhaps then Zabuza would show his true colors. At 8:23 that morning, a disgruntled troop of boys and 2 men marched down from the cramped room on the 2nd floor of the modest house. They were hungry and cranky. Imagine their surprise to walk into a room filled with a delicious aroma of fresh onigiri and fish on the table. Mouths started to water, and the men stared at it like they had been reunited with a long-lost lover. Let's imagine that these men are standing there with their mouths wide open with drool dripping down. Next, let's imagine 2 girls, one with blonde hair the other with black, sitting at the table chatting merrily about the life of a kunoichi. If that didn't surprise them then this might. Finally, let's imagine a man with spiky dark brown hair, sitting at a seat, talking to the man who he had been hired to kill, about the size of the fish that he had caught. Naruto, Shikamaru, Kakashi, Shino, Asuma, and Choji momentarily forgot their hunger to stare at the quartet in awe. The 2 once enemies were chatting with those who they would have killed ordinarily. This included one Uzumaki Zabuza, the man who had killed off his entire genin class and was labeled the Demon of the Mist. What exactly was this world coming to? Zabuza spotted the six of them and looked up. Through their daze they hadn't noticed that Zabuza had dropped the bandages. He had an angular, smooth face that was chiseled and handsome. It made them wonder if that was what Kakashi looked like underneath his mask. Sadly, only his family and one other female would know at the moment. Yomina, Aheyo. He lifted his fingers in a two-fingered salute with a grin on his face. Yep, that was the older, more sadistic version of Kakashi, alright. Aheyo. Was it really a good morning when the Demon of the Mist actually smiled at you with his shark-like teeth? Zabuza looked straight at Naruto. We promised to talk today. So eat your breakfast and the five of us will have a nice chat. Naruto looked at Shikamaru and Kakashi. They nodded. Answers were needed on both sides. Breakfast was eaten in relative silence. Ino and Haku's chattering could be heard. Occasionally, Choji asked Tsunami if he could have more of her heavenly creation. Other than that, mostly everyone was silent. Naruto couldn't wait for breakfast to end. Naruto was not a very patient person. He was lazy, but not patient, a trait inherited from the Uzumaki side, no doubt. When Naruto got restless, he was as still as a statue, something that Shikamaru and Kakashi noticed. Shino discreetly observed Naruto. Who was he? Back in the academy, Naruto was an absolute loser. No friends, terrible grades, no potential. Or so everyone thought. Shino was certain that based on the way all the ninjas treated Naruto, this was all just an act. The same went with Shikamaru as well. But why? Why go through such lengths just to keep your abilities a secret? Naruto and Shikamaru were very comfortable with the Jonin senseis, if the conversation at the academy could have been proof. They had tremendous skill, more so than any genin. Then there was the civilians. They were completely different from the ninjas. While the ninjas respected Naruto, the civilians treated him like the scum below. There had observed the civilians sell Naruto overpriced items that were completely outrageous. After he had left, they had called him a demon or Kyuubi no Gaki. Shino wondered if it was something that his parents had done to the civilians that had made them so mad. He even asked Abiram Shibi about this. That was the most emotion he had seen from his father. Shibi had said that Naruto's parents were the most wonderful humans on earth, and those who insulted their legacy were the lowest scum on earth. His mother had come into the room and calmed Shibi down. When Shino asked his mother Takiko who Naruto's parents were, she smiled and said that he would have to ask him himself. Shino had tried to place his Kakechu beetles on Naruto, but they always came back saying that the chakra output that he had was too strong for them to stay on him for long. This always had struck Shino as strange because Naruto had never ever fought using chakra. However, now, the pieces were falling into place. Suddenly, Zabuza stood up. Naruto looked at him and nodded. He then beckoned to Shikamaru and Kakashi, who followed him wordlessly. Haku apologized to Ino for cutting their conversation short and went after her father. Ino and Choji looked at each other. Do you think Naru will be okay? Choji asked Asuma. Naruto will be Naruto. I have a feeling that Zabuza will be the one who is going to be more upset than Naruto. Shino called one of his Kakechu beetles out and made to put it on Shikamaru, but was stopped by Asuma. Shino, this is a private matter, do not intrude. But sensei, there should be no secrets between teammates, and for this mission we are teammates. What we don't know can get us killed later on. Asuma smiled a grim smile. Trust me Shino, Naruto has secrets that people do want to kill him for. He is in the bingo book after all. Let him have his piece today. Besides, how would you like it if people exploited your biggest secret? Shino looked down. He was ashamed of himself. Forgive me sensei, I was not thinking straight. All is well Shino, when Naruto feels like you are trustworthy, he will tell you. You and Naruto are more alike than you think. Asuma finished. Shino had a lot to think about. And think he would. Zabuza led the rest of the four to a clearing near a small lake. They sat down on the grass and waited for one to start the conversation. After a few minutes, Zabuza spoke. So my sister is dead. He said it in a very flat voice. It wasn't a statement or a question, it was just said. Naruto picked at the grass. To tell you how she died, I should tell you some things about mom. Zabuza stared at Naruto, his eyes urging Naruto to go on. However, it was Kakashi who spoke. Kushina Boss-san was found in Kiri when she was 12 by Konoha Nins. They brought her to Konoha after seeing the Uzumaki insignia on her left shoulder. Everyone stared at Kakashi. This was brand new information. He continued. Uzumaki Mito, the wife of the Shodai Hokage, was the first Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Kyuubi, that's what attacked Konoha 12 years ago. Zabuza exclaimed. Yes, well, I'm getting to that part. Anyway, originally, Tsunade Bachan was chosen to house the Kyuubi because she was a senju, however after Kushina Ba-san came to Konoha, she was the perfect candidate. She had those special chakras capable of controlling the Kyuubi if he got out of control, the Uzumaki longevity, and she was a master of Fuinjutsu, all at the age of 12. So she became the second host of the Kyuubi. Haku gasped. Her aunt had held the most powerful monster in history. Eventually, Ba-san got the name the Bloody Red Habanero, although no one outside of Konoha knew who that was. This might have been one of the reasons that you never knew she was alive. Ba-san and Minato Jai-san were enemies at first, but then they fell in love. They were married 12 years after they met, when both were 24. The marriage was celebrated amongst their close family and friends and kept a secret from the rest of the world. This is why basically no one knows who Naruto's parents are. No one talked for some time. Naruto decided that he should take over. This is where I come in. You should know that a Jinchuriki is weakest during birth. The seal weakens, and the sealed beast inside has a greater chance of escaping. Kyuubi did get out, but willingly. He knew that it would be easier to come out rather than have Kushina try to suppress him while giving birth. Before you say anything, the Kyuubi be considered like a summon, but he was tied to the host's chakra. Zabuza nodded. He could accept that. However, while she was giving birth to me, something happened. A man by the name of Uchiha Madara. He took control of the Kyuubi. Zabuza looked at Naruto incredulously. Uchiha Madara, the founder of the Uchiha clan, was still alive. Then the rumors about the Yondaime Mizukage were not rumors at all. And the Kyuubi went on a rampage under the influence of the Mangekyo Sharingan to destroy Konoha. Of course Dad knew what was going on. He knew that the normally passive being would never attack anyone without reason. And he also knew that the only way to stop the being was to seal it within another, preferably a baby whose chakra coils were not developed. Zabuza trailed off. Yes, me. I had just been born. Mom was really weak at the time. She couldn't protect me from the Kyuubi and Madara. But Dad was strong, extremely strong. He had studied Fuinjutsu under Mom and was more or less her level. The seal on her stomach Shiki Fuijin, he had recreated it. Using the seal means that one must sacrifice their own life to summon the Shinigami. Mom and Dad sacrificed their everything to help me survive. And so I became the third host to the Kyuubi. Naruto finished. Zabuza and Haku remained silent. Kushina had been killed because of that damned Uchiha. The Kyuubi had been good, it wasn't his fault that Konoha was destroyed. Uchiha Madara, that son of a bitch, would die, one way or another. Haku was speechless. Her cousin housed the most powerful being in history. How was he still sane? What was it like? Naruto, is it overwhelming sometimes? Holding the Kyuubi, that is. Haku asked her cousin. Naruto gave her a sad smile. The Sandaime called the entire village together and told everyone what had happened, how the Kyuubi was sealed in me. He knew what had really happened because Dad had left a letter detailing everything that had happened. This letter was read to the council and that's what stopped them from killing me. It was also read to the ninja section of the village, except for the part about me being his son. Dad asked that I was to be treated as a hero, which the ninja side complied with. They knew the difference between a kunai and the scroll it is sealed within. The civilian side did not. They tried to kill me several times, but never could. Kakanai made sure of that, as did my Anbu guard growing up. So when the civilians figured out that I couldn't die, they refused to let me into their stores or sold me terrible products. To this day the only civilian store that I will eat in is Ichiraku Ramen. They were the only civilian restaurant to treat me as a human and not a demon. I would come home crying all the time and I would have Shika and the entire Nara clan comfort me. It was at the age of 4 where I learned about Kyuunai through deep meditation. He was sleeping for a time, regaining his strength. When I first met him, I was scared shitless. What 4-year-old wouldn't be seeing a 100-foot-tall fox behind a large metal cage all in your head? At first I really hated him, he had made my life outside home hell. But then he told me why he did it and I forgave him. And so one day I just stopped crying. I didn't let the harsh words or glares affect me. I put on a mask of happiness that only my family could see through. I became the dope of the academy. I was the idiot who ate nothing but ramen and wore Kill Me Orange. I even had to hide my relation to my family. Shikamaru and I couldn't really talk to each other or it would cause suspicion. Both of us can be considered pretty smart, but I had to hide that for obvious reasons. After all, would the villagers like a smart demon or a stupid one? The reason Shikamaru acted so dumb in the academy was for my sake. He could have been rookie of the year easily, yet he stayed back because he knew that I couldn't act smart. Then there was Kakanai. If we were seen in the village together, people would start to ask why the demon was strolling around with the man whose sensei and uncle he had supposedly killed. I hated the villagers for so long. I wanted to kill all of them. But then the kind man and his daughter at the ramen place turned that thought around. They were the only civilians to treat me like I was actually human. So then I thought, if those two treat me so well, the rest of the village will too in due time. And now, 6 years from when I thought that, I am finally gaining some respect from the civilian side. Shikamaru and Kakashi looked somber. Although Naruto led a seemingly perfect life, it was not so. Kakashi had blocked 37 death attacks on Naruto in his first week of living from the civilians. Naruto had been living in the Nara clan house since he was born, but only some ninja knew of this. The Sandaime had bought an apartment for Naruto shortly after his 7th birthday. Naruto was seemingly living there according to the civilians, but it was all a pretense. None of the civilians knew where it was, so they never got the chance to destroy it, otherwise they would have. Now that Naruto was a ninja, things were different and he finally didn't have to hide anymore. Zabuza looked at Naruto sadly. He had led a pretty tough life and had to grow up quickly. Haku looked at her cousin with pity. He had to go through so much to be where he was today. Oji-san, Haku, would you like to meet Kyuubi? Naruto asked. Nani? Ano, are you so sure? He won't attack us. Haku cried. Shikamaru laughed. Nah. Kyuubi is tame. Like Naruto said, him attacking Konoha was a mistake, one that he hopes to rectify. So, how about it? Zabuza and Haku looked at each other before finally nodding. Alright, go ahead. Naruto got up and patted the dirt off of his pants. Yosh, here I go. He bit his thumb and made the signs for the summoning technique. Kuchius no Jutsu. Kyuubi no Kitsune. A plume of smoke erupted. From the shadows emerged a 4-foot majestic-looking fox with 9 flowing tails. Yo, or wa Kyuubi da. Hajimemashite. I'm the Kyuubi, pleased to make your acquaintance. Hawaii. Haku ran and glomped him. Kyuubi was tackled to the ground with a giant thud. Zabuza looked on with bemusement. This is the Kyuubi no Kitsune who attacked Konoha. What has this world come to? Shikamaru was horrified to find himself jealous of an ancient fox. Did I really wish that I was the one underneath her? TCH Mendix. As Haku and Kyuubi played, Naruto looked at Zabuza. Alright, I said my part, now it's your turn. Zabuza ran a hand through his spiky hair. Where to begin? You should know that I only knew Nichan for 8 years. She disappeared during the Kiri bloodline purge when I was 8. We were the children of the Nide Muzukage. You should know that the 3 of us, Tsunade, Kushina and I, we were very close. Tsunade, I only knew her for 4 years, but I still remember her so clearly. With her blonde hair like you and her fiery temper, she was the older, blonder version of Nichan. When I was 4, Yuzu no Kuni had a civil war. Different factions of the village revolted against the Uzukage and defected to Konoha or Kiri. Eventually, Dad was killed and Mom, Nichan and I fled to Kiri. The Uzumaki clan had no idea that we were there, or surely they would have killed us as well. We were incognito for a very long time. Mom died the year after we arrived in Kiri. The stress of being a single parent, losing her home and her husband really got to her. Zabuza sighed. Nichan she was amazing. She took care of me through everything, at least for 4 years. She was a Fuinjutsu master. The Shiki Fuijin seal on your stomach is the Uzumaki clan specialty. We were all seal masters. It's in our blood, heck even I'm good at them. And for you and Haku it should be natural. You guys are half Uzumaki after all. Naruto nodded. Yeah, Hokage told me about the Uzumaki clan being well versed with Fuinjutsu. I'm alright at it, but I'm getting better when Jiraiya Oji-san comes and teaches me occasionally. Ah, Jiraiya of the Sannin. He married my cousin, didn't he? Ah yes, Tsunade Bachan. Hee hee. Interesting. Anyway, because she was so powerful at such a young age, many people in Kiri had taken notice. They either wanted to kill her or take control of her. I thought that she was killed in the raids, but clearly I was mistaken. You are the living proof of that. If the Yondaime was still alive, I would castrate him with my bare hands for violating my sister. Zabuza yelled. Somewhere on the 9th cloud in the 4th galaxy, Minato sneezed while on top of a panting Kushina. Naruto's sweat dropped. Even after she had died, he was still an overprotective little brother. Mama, I wouldn't be here if he didn't, now would I? I guess you're right. But still anyway, after Kushina was gone. I became very depressed. I couldn't take the Uzumaki name, so I took the name Mamachi. I entered the academy and a year later, all of my friends were dead by my hand. He grimaced. To this day, I regret that. Believe me or not, but I do. I was almost 10 by this time. And the rest is history. I became one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. The reason why I became a Nukenin was because I led a revolt against the Yondaime Mizukage. He was the one who ordered the bloodline purges and in it I lost Haku's mother. Yuki Akira. Haku looked solemn. She knew that her father had loved her mother more than anything. Zabuza continued. Akira was from the Yuki clan. The clan had a special bloodline, one that uses wind and water to control ice. They specialize in Hyoten jutsus. So Haku has a bloodline? Shikamaru asked. Yes, and it was one of the reasons that we never settled down anywhere. Haku was in danger in Kiri and we had to keep moving so no one would find her. Zabuza eyed his daughter. She was the light of his life, he could never lose her the same way Akira had died. Naruto, what you said about Uchiha Madara controlling him, he started, gesturing at Kyuubi who sat at Haku's feet. I think that he controlled the Yondaime Mizukage as well. At this the 3 Konoha ninjas looked surprised. The Yonde Mizukage, Yugura, was the host to the three-tailed giant turtle. He could control his tailed beast extremely well. Rumors, very elaborate rumors were going around that Uchiha Madara was pulling the strings and he was just a puppet. It was against him that I tried to revolt, but I was cast out of the village. The Konoha were silent at their uncle's revelation. Interesting, that's really all there is to it. You said that Konoha can offer us a home. If it can, then we will fight alongside Konoha and bring down Uchiha Madara, even if it costs us our lives. Zabuza's exclamation brought a smile to everyone's faces. Under that bloodthirsty facade lay a very determined, loving, maybe that's stretching it, man. Well then Uzumaki Zabuza, from this day on you are officially my uncle. Naruto exclaimed. Wasn't I your uncle before? He asked confusedly. Well yes, but since you have agreed to come to Konoha, now it's official. Welcome to the family, uncle, cousin. Naruto gave a foxy grin. Zabuza gave a true smile, something he hadn't done in a very long time. Haku looked at her father and grinned. Looks like his heart was growing back and it was all thanks to her blonde cousin. Hi, this is all very touching, but now we must discuss matters slightly less important like training. I will be taking Naruto and Shikamaru to learn the basis of my own Taijutsu-style Kitsune Ken. If anyone else would like to join, they are welcome to as well. Kyuubi said. I would like to join. My Taijutsu has been weak compared to my ninjutsu and jinjutsu. Kakashi said. I would as well. I would be honored to learn from a master such as yourself Kyuubi-sama. Haku said. Everyone looked at Zabuza expectantly. Oh hell, I guess it's a family affair then. Kyuubi grinned. Yash it settled then. From tomorrow the Torah training begins. He finished in the fox version of the good guy pose, one that was still capable of bringing shivers to Kakashi. The other's sweat dropped. Yes, the torture would begin. After all, why wouldn't it be torture when the lovable yet sadistic oldest being on earth was teaching you? Now then, let's return to the house. The others might be getting worried. Zabuza said. The chorus of "Hi" was heard from the rest. Asuma saw the 5 figures and 1 fox returning to the house, chatting jovially and laughing. Looks like Naruto did it again huh? Shino also looked out the window to see a happy family. Kakashi and Zabuza were laughing at the antics of Naruto as he tried to run to the house but was stopped by Shikamaru's shadow bind. Taoji and Ino smiled at their friend's happiness and decided that they would support them throughout anything. The civilians, Tazuna, Tsunami and Inari were pleasantly surprised to see a heartfelt smile on the face of the man who had tried to kill them. The 5 and fox of them approached the house. They had been gone for about an hour or so. As they entered, minus the fox, a feeling of relief overtook them. There would be no more animosity, no more unneeded killing. Zabuza stopped in front of the spectators. Everyone, I would like to introduce you to my daughter Haku and my 3 nephews, Shikamaru, Kakashi, and Naruto. The 4 of them mock bowed to the crowd and doubled over in laughter. Asuma was amazed to see Kakashi laugh so much. Kakashi only laughed when he had his psychotic urges to go kill people, something inherited from the Haddock side. And now here he was, laughing his heart out. What was next? He would decide to settle down with some insanely sexy Kunoichi and have kids. Somewhere in Konoha, Anko sneezed while eating her dango. She looked down and saw that her precious dango was covered with snot. I'm going to mother effing kill whoever was talking about me. She yelled in a crazy rage. People inched away from her before finally disappearing in sprint. Back in Wave Country, Asuma shivered. He felt like a really sexy Kunoichi was about to kill him. Hopefully it wasn't Kurenai. He had only ogled Tsunami once for crying out loud. Kakashi stopped laughing. He then adopted his indifferent-looking face. It still unnerved Asuma how quickly Kakashi could change emotions. Well, starting from tomorrow the 5 of us will be training for the upcoming battle in a family style I guess. Yes, Gato and I had an agreement that 10 days from yesterday, we would destroy the bridge. Of course that is void right now, but appearances must be upheld. That gives us 8 days tomorrow that we can train. Zabuza added. You're their sensei, right? He asked Asuma, gesturing to the 3 other genin. Asuma nodded. Well then. Well we will be training, so will you. If they know tree climbing, start them on water walking. Then, because all of them are from clans, have them practice in their clan techniques. I don't know if Gato has hired anyone else besides myself to help destroy the bridge. If he hasn't then our job is easy, but if he has then training is all we can do. Zabuza concluded. Actually Oji-san, Shikamaru and I can stake out the town for today. We'll be back by nightfall. Hopefully we can acquire some information Gato and his base. Would that be acceptable? Naruto asked his uncle. Zabuza mulled it over. Alright, but take Haku with you. Naruto looked at his cousin and smiled. That would be great. Haku blushed at this. Naruto shot a sly glance at his other cousin. He was blushing as well. So it seems Mr. Tall, Dark and Handsome has an infatuation with Ms. Pristine Beauty. Interesting. Gosh. Let's go guys. Naruto yelled as he took off through the treetops. Oi, Matt Naruto. You're not going alone, you know. Shikamaru and Haku chased after him, begging him to slow down. Zabuza chuckled. Yep, that's the impatient Uzumaki side coming out in him, alright. So Kakashi, mind giving your uncle some of that porn you read? Naruto, Shikamaru and Haku entered the town within 10 minutes. Before, they had only seen it from afar in the food stands, but seeing it now brought a tumult of emotions. Rage, anger, sorrow, despair, and more. The entire population wore nothing but rags. It seemed that Tezuna's family was relatively wealthy compared to everyone else. Children were thin and ragged, scrounging around for something to eat. As the trio entered, once again they saw the nervous looks on faces. But Naruto smiled a warm smile, and some of the tension disappeared. No, just kidding. Naruto smiled and the population cringed in fright. That brought a frown on Shikamaru's face. They didn't even know an act of kindness when they saw it. Oi, Naruto, Haku. They won't let us talk to them when we're dressed like ninjas. Civilian attire would be better. You're right, Shikamaru-kun. Haku said as Shikamaru sported a brilliant blush. Ninjas would be perfect. From a nearby alley, 3 people, 2 boys and a girl, each with dark brown hair and onyx eyes, walked out and started to walk around the village. Unbridled fury rose in each of them. Gato, that bastard, he would pay for his crimes. Believe it. A group of children were hovered around a small fire off to the side of the road. Over the fire, they were roasting a very small fish that would not be enough to feed all 5 of the kids. Quickly, Naruto summoned a shadow clone and had it shushed back to the pond near Tezuna's house to capture some more fish. Shikamaru caught on to Naruto's plan and did the same. After some time, both of the boys' clones came back with 20 fish in their hands. Naruto walked up to the 5 children crouched around the fire. Hey. My name's Naruto. Would you like some fish? He asked, holding 5 fish out to the children. The kids stared at the fish, then at Naruto with fright. Naruto took in their expressions with a pang in his heart. Due to his childhood, he vowed never to let another child that he came across grow up in pain. Naruto dropped his hinge. This made the other boys even more scared. His eyes took on a very comforting look. He pulled the smallest of the boys towards him and sat down beside him. Listen, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help. This headband, he said pointing to his hit I-8, signifies that I'm a ninja from Konoha. My family and we're going to help you all. So please, take the fish. I swear that soon, you'll get a lot more than just fish. That's the promise of a lifetime. He sat there after distributing the fish to the hesitant boys. With a simple Kaiten jutsu, he got the fire roaring again. The boys started to roast the fish over the fire. Naruto stared at the other boys and gently toyed with the hair of the boy in his lap. It seemed to be relaxing all of the boys. Shikamaru smiled at his cousin's words. Haku looked at her cousin with awe. When I hear Naruto talk, it just makes me want to believe him. She said. Shikamaru smirked at the girl. That's Naruto's special power. He has the ability to change people with his words and his actions. When he becomes Hokage, I swear to Kami that I'll do whatever he says and be the best advisor I can be to him. Haku silently nodded her agreement. The pair then went on to check the rest of the town out. After they were done, the boys cautiously stared at the blonde before tackling him to the ground. Naruto Nai-chan. Arigato. It brought tears to Naruto's eyes to see the children thanking him because of fish. The smallest boy in his lap stared at Naruto for a long time. I'm Kenji. Kenji? Naruto asked. The boy nodded. All the other kids stared at the runt in awe. He did it. Kenji talked. Naruto Nai-chan, you're a miracle worker. Kenji never talked before. One of the boys cried. Naruto looked at the boy for a couple seconds before pulling him into a fatherly embrace. All you needed was a little love. Use your voice and change people. He whispered in Kenji's ear. Kenji smiled, a wide to the 5-year-old smile. HHI. Soon afterwards, the 5 boys were happily munching away on their fish again. Naruto left them with a clone of his, in case anything happened. He then went to go find Haku and Shikamaru in his hinged form again. Hang on. Something's coming your way. Be careful. Thanks Nai-chan. Naruto swirled around to find himself face to face with a very big fat man. He was probably one of Gato's men. Hey kid. The BFM, figure it out, called to him. You're new here. It's protocol for each unregistered person who enters Wave Country to pay 120 ryo. If you don't have, then get out. The man had a raspy voice and spoke with a lisp. Naruto looked at him disgustedly. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw his 2 cousins approaching him rapidly. Listen kind sir, I don't intend to cause any problems here. Please, I don't have 120 ryo. I am simply visiting my family here and wish to see them soon. Please excuse me. With that, Naruto tried to push past the man but was stopped by a katana near his throat. This action got the attention of the townsfolk. No kid, you listen. You're in our territory, boy, so you play by our rules. Naruto smirked at this. Sir, technically wave country is between fire country and water country, meaning it is controlled by the Hokage and Mizukage. You clearly are not a shinobi, therefore you are not under a contract from either cage. I may ask you what a mercenary like yourself is doing in a peaceful civilian village. Inwardly Naruto scoffed at his own words. This was not peaceful in the least. Shikamaru and Haku smirked at their cousin's dismissal of the BFM. The man was steadily putting a tomato to shame with the color of his face. Now listen here, brat. Either you pay, or I'll kill you and your pitiful family. A crowd had gathered at Naruto's plight. Naruto considered performing a vasectomy on the BFM right this very instant. Instead, he dropped the hinge. The man gaped at him for a second before scowling. Shinobi. Should have known. So, why are you here? Do you want to pillage this pathetic town as well? The townspeople shook with fear. Naruto looked at him with unrestrained hatred. I would rather commit suicide than plunder a village filled with innocent men and women who have done absolutely nothing to anyone. Ha! They haven't paid their dues yet. We're simply taking what's ours. The BFM told Naruto. Naruto spared one glance at the idiot. Kanashibari no jutsu. The BFM was paralyzed. He couldn't move a muscle. The spectators watched in awe as Naruto pulled out a sealing scroll and performed a quick Fuin-jutsu to seal the BFM inside of it. Naruto looked at the gathered crowd. My name is Naruto, and I am just here to help you along with my family. You may not trust us, or like us, or respect us. But we promise with all of our heart and soul. We will save all of you, even if it costs us our lives. With that he vanished in a pillar of flames. Shikamaru and Haku glanced at the crowd. Then they vanished in a gust of wind and a vortex of water respectively. It took Shikamaru no time at all to track his cousin. Naruto was seated in front of the BFM who was tied to a tree with ropes. Oh boy, Naruto was pissed. You could literally see the rage flowing off of him in waves. No wonder the BFM was passed out. Boy, Naru. Are you okay? Shikamaru asked his cousin concernedly. Naruto turned to look at Shikamaru. No, Shika. I'm not. Would you honestly be alright if you saw the state that this town was in? To be honest with you, I want to kill this man so bad. He's one of the people who's been helping to destroy this village. Naruto-kun, I know you may be upset, but we do need this man alive in order to get the answers we need. After that you can do whatever you want to him, and I'll help. Haku said as she cracked her knuckles menacingly. Naruto glanced fondly at his newly acquired cousin. They would get along fabulously. You're right, Haku-chan. I'll wake the bastard up. With that, Naruto punched the man square in the jaw so as to give him a jolt. It worked. Ugh. Where am I? The man asked groggily. He looked around to see the faces of 3 murderous teenagers staring at him. The BFM paled. Hey now. Let me go. Oh, and why would we possibly do that when you have the answers that we want? Shikamaru asked venomously. The man gulped. He was being faced with killing intent from 3 of the most sadistic people on earth. Alright, I'll tell you. Just please let me go. His voice turned into a whisper. The 3 of them turned to each other. All nodded slightly. We'll think about it. They said in unison. Haku, Naruto, and Shikamaru returned to the house 2 hours later. It was noontime by then. Ino came out to greet them. So how was your adventure in town? Fine, I guess. Shikamaru replied shortly. If Ino was startled by his curt response, she didn't show it. What did you do? Stuff. What kind of stuff? Fine stuff. Now Ino was getting mad. Before she could speak out, Kakashi came and put a hand on her shoulder, indicating for her to be quiet. How many, Naruto? Kakashi asked. Naruto looked at Kakashi. 55. He replied, his voice devoid of life. Kakashi glanced at the 3 children. They had blood on their clothes and hands. Haku's kimono was slightly torn in places, while Shikamaru's mesh shirt was ripped. Naruto's navy blue undershirt was covered in a dark liquid. 3 12-year-old kids had managed to kill 55 men. It was a stomach-churning thought, yet surprisingly accepted in the life of a shinobi. 55 what? Chaoji asked, coming to meet his friends as well. There was a pause. Then, the number of people we killed, Joe. Naruto said in a lifeless voice. Chaoji and Ino looked dumbstruck at the blonde, then at the brunette and Raven. They had killed 55 people. In less than a day. Ino felt like puking at the notion that their 3 kind-hearted friends could do something so appalling. But then again they were shinobi, and killing was a part of their lives as they would soon learn. Nai-chan, we have information that we want to discuss with everyone. Shikamaru said in a small voice. No matter how many people he had killed, it never got easier for the kid. Kakashi ruffled Shikamaru's hair affectionately. Okay kiddo, let's go get everyone and sit together. Naruto let out a small smile when Kakashi did the same thing to his and Haku's hair. It was in these times that Kakashi played the role of big brother and eased them out of their pain. And for that they were eternally grateful. It took 5 minutes for everyone to become situated in the cramped kitchen. It was hard to do so when there were 12 people in a small room. The kids, including Inari, ended up taking the floor while the adults sat at the kitchen table. A small fox came trotting through the door and nestled itself in Naruto's lap. It seems Kyuubi never went back in his seal. "Alright Naruto, tell us what's going on and why you decided to kill all those people," Zabuza said. To those who hadn't heard what they had done, it was quite a shock. Naruto looked over at the other two who gave him a slight nod. He took a deep breath. "We went into town disguised as civilians, hoping to find out why the town was in shambles. After some time, I came across a man who demanded a small amount of money just so I could enter the town. Within minutes, I had him sealed in a scroll and shushed him to another location. Shikamaru and Haku found me, and after 5 minutes, he admitted to a heck of a lot of things." "Naruto-san, how exactly did you get this man to come clean?" Shino asked. Naruto laughed nervously. "Shikamaru and I used Marino Ibiki's favorite torture method." The two Jonins and Ino winced. Marino Ibiki was the resident sadist in Konoha. Even Anko didn't come close to his level of sadism. "Marino Ibiki? Who is that?" Shino inquired. "Marino Ibiki is the head of the tea department in Anbu. He likes torture a lot, and I guess that Naruto and Shikamaru have picked up some of his ahem methods." Asuma replied. "A lot would be an understatement. This guy lived for torture." Yeah. We might have stuck kunais into his hand when he didn't answer our questions," Shikamaru said sheepishly. The fox in Naruto's lap raised its head and looked Shikamaru directly in the eye. "I'm so proud of you, kid." Kyuubi projected to Shikamaru. "What? You finally realized that torture is the way to go. You and Ibiki-san would get along fabulously." So after that, Haku used the hidden miss technique to completely scare the pathetic wimp into confessing the intimate details of Gato's plans. Naruto continued. "Like father like daughter." Zabuza grinned a canine grin. Haku smiled warmly at her father as he rumpled her hair. Everyone else sweat dropped. Naruto sure had a sadistic family. We found out things we didn't want to. Bad things. Like what they did to women and children." Naruto trailed off. Everyone except Inari knew what they were talking about and it sickened them. I snapped, and so did Shikamaru. Haku took it a little better than us, but in the end it was her who killed the most number of those monsters. They didn't deserve to live after we saw what was going on. Those men, they raped and killed 33 innocent women and children," Naruto said. His voice shook as he continued. "The man, before we killed him. He told us where one of Gato's bases was. This was the base that dealt with intercepting all goods that came way of Wave Country. It's the reason why your country is in such a bedraggled state." Naruto paused and looked at Tsunami and Tazuna. They were absolutely furious. When we reached the base, Naruto's voice was trembling. Haku picked up where he left off. "We were all in disguise. The men there never noticed us. But we noticed them. They were with a woman I just couldn't look at what they were doing. Pain. That was what those women were in. Agony, rage, helplessness. All those emotions were running through me as a girl. I couldn't imagine what those women were going through. And then it happened. Something broke inside of me, inside of all three of us. And 5 minutes later, they were all lying dead. We had blood all over us, tainting yet purging as well. The women, they ran, but not before giving us all frightened looks and some looks of gratitude." Haku finished, eyeing her audience. The others understood why they did it. Haku couldn't go into too much detail because Inari was still in the room, but the things they must have seen in that base, they must have been disgusting for them to act in such a way. "We have something else to tell you," Shikamaru said, and everyone turned his way. "Gato is planning on attacking the bridge that Tazuna-sen is building in 5 days' time. That's earlier than what we expected. He's hired some guy named Aoi Rakusho to kill Tazuna because he thinks Abusa Oji-sen is dead." Kakashi and Asuma exchanged looks. Aoi Rakusho was a low S-rank Jonin Nukenin from Konoha. He had stolen Raijin, the blade of the Nidaime Hokage. There would be no doubt that Kakashi and Asuma could take him, but Gato could have hired more nins. They would have to start their respective training tomorrow. Kakashi looked at Naruto. "Naruto. That man, Aoi Rakusho, is relatively strong. We need to start training right away. Also, one more thing, he has your great-uncle's sword in his possession. We have to get that back right away. It is a relic of Konoha history." "Raijin?" Naruto gasped. Kakashi nodded. "He stole it when we were very weak, nearly 13 years ago if you know what I mean." Naruto frowned. "So directly after the nine-tailed attack this little idiot had decided to take the Nidaime's sword, huh? Kaken Ai, no matter what, I'll get Tobiramaji Ai-sama's sword back." "I know you will," was his cousin's reply. "Saving this country is in our goal at the moment. We, as your senseis, expect you to train very hard in order to beat the people who are trying to hurt it. Do you all understand?" Kakashi asked the kids, deadly serious. "Hi," was their answer. "Good. Well then, for the rest of the day, you can do whatever you want because tomorrow starts a very hard regiment," Asuma said. Everyone gulped. There was no doubting the man's words. However, it was necessary in order to beat the people who had dilapidated this town, those bastards. Tsunami broke the uneasy silence that followed. Well, I've made lunch for one and all, so let's eat. Hi Tsunami-san. Chaoji eagerly got up and nearly sprinted to the kitchen table. The rest of them chortled as they saw their big-boned friend so enthusiastic, Shino included, though you couldn't see. Inari stayed behind and waited for Naruto to enter the kitchen before pulling on the hem of his bloodied shirt. The others discreetly looked at what was going on. Naruto looked down surprised. Ah, Inari-kun, is there something you need? He asked. Inari looked sheepishly at the ground. Oh no, I want to apologize to you. Naruto was taken aback. For what exactly? As far as I know, you haven't done anything unless you sold out your family to Gato. Naruto said in a half-serious, half-joking manner. What? No, of course not. It's just I'm sorry for doubting you. He said quietly. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I've only known you for less than a day, how can you doubt me? Inari gazed into Naruto's eyes. Onyx met azure. I'm sorry that I didn't trust you when you first came here. I thought that no one could beat Gato because that man killed my dad in front of the entire village. Naruto's stomach clenched. No wonder the poor kid was so cold to him when they first saw each other. To have your father be murdered in front of you, that was devastating. He cut off his arms when my dad, Kaiza, opposed Gato. Since that day I lost all hope that we can ever be saved. My dad always told me that heroes existed. After he died I cried, begged, pleaded for Kami to bring us another hero. But it never worked. When you guys came, I was dead set that there was no such things as a hero. Now I'm not so sure. What you and your cousins did for us in one day has been more than what anyone's done for us in 3 years. So I'm sorry for doubting you. Inari bowed his head low. Naruto stared at Inari for a while. He was silent as he contemplated all that Inari had told him. Kid. Heroes do exist. They exist in the tiniest of forms, like blood cells that fight off infections in our bodies, saving us. Or they exist in real people like me and you. I'll let you in on a little secret. My dad and my mom died protecting me from a very evil man. The last thing they said to me was, "We'll always love you, Naruto." And I was only 3 hours old at the time. I never had the love of parents growing up, but my precious people, they made up for that. My cousins, Shikamaru and Kakashi, they were always there for me when I needed the love along with so many others. To me, they are my heroes. They saved me from the hell of growing up alone. When you have people to protect, you will grow truly strong. This is what my other cousin Haku says. And she's absolutely correct. A hero is born, not when the world is at peace, but when there is strife and turmoil. You will become a hero. Mark my words. Inari looked at him with wide eyes. He would become a hero. Naruto crouched down to Inari's level. Your dad was a hero for what he did. He died a good man. So become the hero that this village needs. What say you and I take Gato and his men down? Inari had tears in his eyes. Naruto straightened and was about to turn around when Inari flung himself on Naruto, hugging him around the midriff. Naruto's eyes widened, but then he placed his hand on Inari's head and ruffled his hair, just like Kakashi had done to him so many times in the past. Right now, the roles were reversed. Inari didn't even mind that Naruto's shirt was caked with blood. Naruto Nai-chan. Arigato. Inari whispered loud enough for Naruto to hear. Naruto smiled. You're welcome, Itato. He replied. In the kitchen, Tsunami and Tazuna stared at the blonde with eyes the size of dinner plates. The girls had gasped when they heard Inari's story about his dad. Gato was truly a tyrant. He is a miracle. Tazuna exclaimed. Never once had Inari spoken that way to anyone, let alone a stranger. What do you mean? He's just Naruto. He does this all the time. You should have seen what he did for the orphans in town today. Shikamaru said lazily. Huh, what happened? Kakashi asked. It was nothing really, Nai-chan. Don't worry about it. Naruto said, entering the kitchen with Inari. I only talked with some street kids and gave them food. Nothing at all. I'm sure whatever you did was great, Naruto. But right now, why don't the 3 of you go take showers or I'll douse you with a suit and jutsu. You're all filthy and smell like blood. Zabuza said. Moo. I'm hungry, Oji-san. At least let us eat something. Naruto whined. Spoken like a true Uzumaki. Listen to your stomach before your senses. Well, fine, but only this time. You 3 stink more than a pigsty. Zabuza said. Are you sure that the Uzumaki and Akimichi aren't related? Ino asked. Choji looked at her, seemingly offended. He was stuffing his face with food at the moment though, so he didn't say anything. Funny that you say that. Well, actually, there is a very distant connection between the Uzumaki and Akimichi, but the relation is considered negligible, so to answer your question, not really. But then again, most clans are derived from the Uzumaki, Senju, and Uchiha clans. If it's one thing that our 2 clans have in common, it's the appetite. Zabuza told all of them. Tauji, Haku, and Naruto looked at each other in awe. Well Cho, now I know why we are such gluttons. Naruto said as he heaped his plate high with onigiri and fish. Speak for yourself Naruto. I'm not a glutton. I just need a lot of food to sustain my metabolism. Chaoji replied with his mouth full. Ah no, excuse me Naruto-san. Does your fox want anything to eat? Tsunami asked. Naruto looked down surprised at his fox. Sure, why not? Naruto said hesitantly. Tsunami set down a plate full of raw fish in front of Kyuubi and gently patted his head. To those who knew who he was, they were stifling laughter at the sight of the king of Makai being treated like an ordinary animal and enjoying it. After lunch, all was relatively quiet. Shikamaru and Naruto were using the shadows to create shapes to amuse Haku and Inari. Kyuubi had decided to return to the seal because he was sleepy from all the food. The three ninja adults were discussing future plans for the upcoming fight. Ino and Chaoji were lazing around by the lake nearby, walking on the water to improve chakra control while having a water fight simultaneously. Tomorrow would be a long tiring day, so it was best if they relaxed for one day. 4 days of intense training didn't sound very appealing. Meanwhile, in Konoha, the Sandaime Hokage was reading over the documents that his only female student and Sanin had sent him. Naruto had asked him to send Mizuki's body to Tsunade and Shizune. The results were quite frightening. From the fight he had seen between Naruto and Mizuki, it seemed like Mizuki had animal DNA infused with his own bloodstream, no doubt that was due to the fact he had drank some potion concocted by Orochimaru himself. And his assumption paid off. Tsunade's analysis had said that the substance that Mizuki had ingested used some of Orochimaru's own DNA, venom, and blood, along with that of animals. Actually, it was animal chromosomes that were being used. And when those chromosomes entered the user's bloodstream, they at first mingled and seemed to enhance the user's abilities. However, the body then would try to reject the incoming blood and chromosomes. The body would think that a disease was attacking the body and try to fend for itself. In essence, the body would attack itself leading to an instantaneous death once the effects wore off. Naruto had said that there was snake venom in Mizuki's bloodstream and eventually that venom would spread to the heart, causing the aorta to burst leading to death. This was accurate for the most part. Tsunade had said that in reality, the venom would travel to all the Tenketsu points and seal them. When the venom was mixed with Orochimaru's blood, it would become more potent. With all the Tenketsu sealed, the user would receive no chakra and have no self-healing abilities. The bursting of the aorta was just a side effect of having all the Tenketsu points sealed. It was like the Hyuga Jaiukin, gentle fist in a bottle. Every user would surely die. It's like Orochimaru had no worries as to what happened to his test subjects. This was most disturbing information. How had his wayward student strayed from the path of righteousness so much? It's my fault. He was my favorite. I should have killed him back then. Hirizen's thoughts consumed him. He had 3 students, the snake, the slug, and the toad. By nature, snakes and toads hate each other, while the slug tends to lean towards the toad. The toad and the slug had married, but had no children. The student of the toad, his own nephew, became the next toad and Hokage of Konoha. The new toad had married the whirlpool and given birth to the maelstrom. The maelstrom would bring about a great change in the world with his loyal shadow by his side. And so the cycle repeats itself. Without a doubt, Naruto and Shikamaru would lead the change into the next shinobi era. Those two together were a force to be reckoned with. They would bring Orochimaru down, he'd bet all of his porn on it. The next day, alright my wayward troops. Don't stop. That's right Haku, keep your fist out and legs bent no the other way, ah yes. Today begins the ultimate test of whether or not your pathetic prune-like bodies are in shape or not. Kakashi. Stand tall boy. Do not slouch and for Kami's sake, put that damned book away. Kyuubi was a slave driver. No arguments there. Their day had started at 7 o'clock exactly. The Nara Uzumaki Haddock family was woken very violently with tiny fires lighting their hair on fire. Kitsunes had a crude sense of humor after all. Asuma was taking his 3 genins to train somewhere else. Kakashi and him had agreed on this the previous night. Breakfast was a hurried affair. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Haku had bid farewell to the others and followed a fox, Kakashi, and Zabuza out the door to a secluded area. Kyuubi had turned into his human form, which consisted of a tall frame of 6'3" 2 inches taller than Kakashi, red hair, and red eyes. He was garbed in a crimson and black cloth with the kanji of Makai running down the back of the cloak he was wearing. All in all, he looked like the red-haired eviler version of Namikaze Minato. At the moment, they had been trying to get the basics of Kitsune Ken down, but it was extremely difficult. So in light of that, Kakashi had adopted his normally lazy persona, something that was amplified while living with the Naras, and pissed Kyuubi off. Did you say something? Kakashi said, flipping a page. In response, he was met with a great blast of fire that destroyed Icha tactics. Horrified, Kakashi fell to his knees shaking. My precious. She's gone. Zabuza walked up to Kakashi and laid a comforting hand on the younger man's shoulder. There was nothing worse than losing the precious porn. His own daughter had pierced at least 3 copies of his book with ice envins. He knew of Kakashi's pain, and it was not a good thought. I know how you feel, nephew, don't let it get you down. So come on. Stand up again, straighten your shoulders, and let's finish this goddamn training so you can get the extra volume you carry around out. Kakashi looked at Zabuza with tears in his visible eye. Oji-san, you truly are a man who can understand this loss. Thank you for pulling me out of my 2-minute funk. No problem, kid. Zabuza replied as he pulled Kakashi to his feet. The rest of those watching had huge sweat drops on their heads. This was one messed up family. Kyuubi was the overbearing father, Zabuza was the father's younger brother who acted like a kid himself. Kakashi was the oldest brother, who had not matured since the age of 15. And the remaining 3 were the fraternal triplets who kept the family level-headed. An odd bunch who were tied together by sigma bonds. Strong standing alone, unbreakable together. That is, if Kyuubi decided that they actually needed their bodies to survive and they weren't a pile of mush by the time this torturer training was complete. Just getting the basics down was difficult enough. You see, Kitsune Ken was developed by Kyuubi himself and utilized his own original powers to make this complete. It was an offensive and defensive based jutsu, unlike the Goken which was primarily offensive. Each move was more like a dance pose rather than martial arts. The body had to be very lithe and supple, which was a necessity for a ninja, then it could be contorted to any shape. That part was the hard part. So for the past 4 hours, the 5 of them were training rigorously to achieve a proficient level in the 12 basic poses. The 12 basic poses were actually the only positions that Kitsune Ken used. But when they were combined together, new forms were made. From 12 poses, an infinite number of combinations were created, and it was for this reason that the style was so difficult to use. The training for them would most likely last for a few years or so, less if they used Kage Bunshin. Naruto. Do that again. When you are transitioning from rat to pig, remember, thrust the right leg out while rolling your weight to the left, not the other way around, idiot. Then why don't you do it, smartus? Naruto grumbled under his breath. He was sweating profusely. These were possibly the weirdest positions anyone could ever come up with. Then again, it was Kyuubi who was the creator, things were bound to be weird. Shikamaru and Haku were having similar problems. They were working on the partner stance where one person is in the ox position and the other is in the snake. The ox and the snake would complement each other to create an impenetrable form. Of course this led to many awkward moments between Haku and Shikamaru because of their intimate positions with each other. Kyuubi was having just about enough with his pack. They were idiots, well except for Haku. She was a keeper. The rest of the idiotic males could go, though he wasn't too sure Shikamaru would be happy with that. Alright. Stop. All of you. Just stop butchering the style that I worked so hard to create, you snot-nosed brats. The family bristled at that comment. They weren't Konohamaru's for crying out loud. I'll work with each of you individually without using any clones. So Shikamaru. You're up first, boy. Everyone else just sit down. Shikamaru groaned in exasperation. He was already so tired from overexerting himself. This was all so troublesome. But he couldn't really do anything when the king of Makai was holding a whip made out of fire, ready to lash out at any time if even a toe was out of line. Troublesome indeed, my friend. The other 4 sank into the grass with welcome relief. They knew better than to make fun of Shikamaru's pitiful plight. All were nearing exhaustion, even the veterans like Zabuza and Kakashi. Kyuubi knew that the 2 of them had better stamina than the kids, and so he had worked them nearly twice as hard as the children. Right now, they would rest while they could and worry about the state of their broken bodies later. 15 minutes later, Shikamaru appeared in a swirl of leaves. Kyuubi was behind him, a benign expression on his face. He plopped down next to Haku, beads of sweat dripping down his face and onto his now bare chest. It was just too hot to keep a shirt on. Haku appraised the teen with appreciative eyes. He certainly was quite handsome, and the coming years would make him more so. She didn't know just what to categorize Shikamaru as yet. Family. Friends. He was Naruto's cousin, as was she. He called Zabuza Oji-san just like Kakashi and Naruto did. She had these new unexplored feelings pulsing throughout her. These were feelings that cousins most certainly didn't have for each other. Time would define everything. She would just wait and see what would happen. Boy Naruto, you're next. Good luck, cousin, because you're sure as hell going to need it. Shikamaru panted. Naruto gulped. This style was primarily meant for him. Sure, the others could utilize it, but only on a taijutsu level. Kitsune Ken, although it was called Fox Fist, was also a jutsu style as well. Not ninjutsu per se, but more like spells. Because Naruto had Kyuubi sealed in him, he would be able to use the spells that Kyuubi created and fully use the style to its full potential. Let's go, Kit. We're burning daylight here. Kyuubi said. He grabbed Naruto by the collar of his undershirt and they vanished. For the next 23 minutes, all Haku, Shikamaru, Kakashi, and Zabuza could hear was the pitiful screams of a young boy, coupled with the manic laughter of a deranged foxman demon entity. They all winced at the torture that their nephew cousin was going through. And for once, they thanked the merciful Kami that it wasn't them in Naruto's position. Meanwhile, not far from where Naruto was, Shino, Asuma, Ino, and Choji were all training as well. Asuma had them working on increasing their reserves by standing on water or balancing on leaves. He had given them the element test as well and discovered that Shino was lightning, Choji was earth, and Ino was water. It was quite poetic actually. Lightning, silent yet deadly, the assassin type. Exactly like Shino. It comes as a flash of light and electricity, quick as a bullet and as precise as a bullseye. Earth immovable, large, rock. Choji practically embodied that element. His vast intake of food was due to the fact that he needed a tremendous amount of protein to maintain his metabolism. Choji was the one that would hold everyone together, he was the binding agent. Water was smooth, fluid, and constant, just like Ino. She was graceful, so much that it looked like she was dancing every time she sparred. Her personality mirrored that of water as well. At times it was calm and peaceful, while when provoked it became violent and choppy. Asuma couldn't have asked for a better team. They were his to nurture and raise, like younger brothers or sisters. He had his rock, his assassin, and his tactical analyzer Ino. She would be the one to break their enemy because of her unique bloodline. All of a sudden, the four of them heard an ear-piercing scream from somewhere beyond the woods. "Did you hear that?" Choji asked, frightened that there may be a wild animal on the loose. "Yeah, it sounded surprisingly like Naruto." Ino replied. "Naruto, the poor bastard. I hope that if it is him, he's alright," Asuma said. Shino looked on. It did sound like Naruto. What could be happening that had made someone like Naruto cry out like that? "Oh my lovely Shino-chan, you really don't want to know." The next 3 days of training went on the same way they had before. They were bloody torture. And this was Kyuubi going easy on them. Every night, they would all come home beaten to a bloody pulp. When anyone asked them what had happened, they simply replied that it was a training accident, but they all knew it wasn't. By the end of their short training session, thanks to numerous cage buncheons, all 5 of them had perfected the 12 basic positions. It was contorting your body from one shape to the next that was difficult. Kakashi and Zabuza had advanced the most, partly because they were used to the taxing labor that was training. The cousins were struggling to master the first form, the dance of the crane. By nature, cranes were fast and graceful. The first form was that of controlling speed and making the body lithe. It was easier said than done. Kakashi and Zabuza had moved on to the next form, the rat's tail. While the previous form was about speed, the second form was about stealth. A rat had the ability to remain undetected even under the most adverse of situations. This, for any trained ninja, was the easiest of all of them. The form utilized the hidden in plain sight tactic. It was all about manipulation. The hand movements that were used in the form actually created a hypnotic mentality for the opponent. This created the invisibility-like illusion. It was highly more effective than any genjutsu because a genjutsu could be broken simply by forcing chakra out to distort the user's chakra. But there was no chakra used here, only hand motions. In the same way, the other 3 genin had had their hands full as well. Each night, if they weren't too tired, the 6 of them met and discussed what they had learned with each other. Ino was helping Shikamaru, Naru, and Haku train their bodies to be light and supple. In terms of fighting, they were more like Choji or Shino, carefully analyzing, then rushing in like a boulder. Shino and Choji were helping them improve their speed by throwing kunai at ridiculous speeds and forcing them to dodge. It was like Anko's sadistic playtime all over again, but less intense. Shino had come to Naruto asking him if he could help him improve his chakra reserves. Naruto had willingly complied and started Shino out on learning cage buncheons. Cage buncheons, Naruto had reasoned, was the technique of splitting your chakra reserves evenly. Once you could do a cage buncheon, you could basically be 2 places at once. Anything that the clones would do the original would get the memories of. It killed 2 birds in 1 stone. It would increase reserves and chakra control as well. Shino had managed to get 1 cage buncheon out before collapsing to the ground. When Naruto had demonstrated for him, he had made 100 or so. When he asked why it was so difficult, Naruto said that the more chakra you have the easier it is to create. So Shino had diligently gotten to work on his cage buncheons. Just by producing 1, he had increased his chakra capacity by nearly double. He was so pleased that he immediately set off to make 2 clones this time. Even Inari had taken part of some training. Haku had marked a tree with a bull's eye and given Inari some kunai to throw at it. He was progressing gradually and he was ecstatic. Haku, Shikamaru, and Naruto periodically ventured into town to see what effect destroying the base had. For the most part, security seemed to be the same. The orphans had taken an immense liking to Haku and Shikamaru as well when Naruto introduced them. Kenji, the small boy, loved Haku's lap, something that Naruto found hilarious and Shikamaru found slightly disgruntling. But now training was over. They had a battle to fight and a country to save. Naruto. Shikamaru. Haku. Leave cage buncheons here at the house in case something happens. Zabuza yelled over his shoulder. Hi. Alright everyone. Gear up. Now listen, chances are, this fight won't last too long. It's 9 of us versus 1 ninja, that is if Gato hasn't hired more plus some 100 or so mercenaries. But be careful and never let your guard down. Is that clear? Asuma asked. Hi sensei. Was the resonating cry. Be careful all of you. Come back here in one piece, please. Tsunami said tearfully. Tazuna placed a hand on her shoulder and gave her a small wave. Don't worry Tsunami. With these ninja protecting me, nothing will go wrong. I assure you. Tazuna said. Inari gave him a hug before giving all of the ninja, including Zabuza, a hug as well. Naruto Nai-chan, you gave me the hope that everything is going to be alright. Come home safely to us all. Don't worry Inari. We won't get hurt. That I promise of you. He placed a hand on Inari's hair and gently ruffled it. Okay. Let's go. Kakashi said. Keep your senses alert folks. You never know what might happen. Asuma said. But that the 9 ninja and 1 civilian turned to look at the 2 people still standing at the house, along with 10 cage buncheon. With one final wave, they were off. They'll be okay, right mama? Inari asked when they were out of sight. Of course they will darling. Of course they will.